Testies, 1, 2. What's up, guys? Happy Friday. Hope you're well tonight. What's up, Matt? We got Gaston, Jeff, Sweet, Daryl. I see you guys. Everybody's welcome to pop in here if you want to come say hi and just hang out. We're talking all manner of things. We're talking, of course, whatever happened this week in terms of some of the conversations we had. But of course, I'd like to bring something to Friday night that we usually don't do. And we're in the most basic sense, we're a UFO show. However, we've strayed away from that for quite some time now because there's so many other fascinating things to talk about. Not that UFOs are boring, but let's say that mainstream ufology has become, saturated, let's say. So I think there's a lot of different ways to look at this. I see you guys over there on Twitter X. That's the whole point of doing this, by the way, is to meet these fine folks on X and bring these conversations together. What's up, Chris, Thorax, and Bravo? I see you guys there. But yeah, that's the point. Everybody's welcome if you want to pop in here and just say, hey. I was thinking about it tonight, thinking in terms of what this might look like when you go down to the most granular level in UFOs, like I've always said, which is probably the most fascinating part to me. And one of those things is, of course, the nuts and bolts argument versus, the woo versus, psionics, which is all over the, X and the UFO conversation currently. But also, there's quite a bit more interesting things that have come from past theories. And many people have talked about this, Jacques Vallée among them. But I was thinking of it as this, and this is a clip from ChatGPT. Of course, GPT is getting very good, as many of these other things are. But UFOs as time artifacts. And one of the things that one of the theories, anyway, that kind of breaks that nuts and bolts paradigm is the idea that UFOs are specifically, us from the future, time travelers, something to that effect, right? Which it's a fun theory, but I think it needs some further deep dive in here, some further conversation, because to me, if you look at this and think of it in terms of future us, we don't even know what future us is, because maybe we're on Mars, maybe we become a type 2 civilization, maybe once you sort of move past that technological singularity, maybe we do sort of merge into energy sources, or sentient energy, as we've described in the past. So some of that stuff kind of plays in my mind as well. That makes some sense if we can kind of do a little bit of that time travel tourism. We talked about that from time to time on the show as well. But it's weird, right? Do you think it is possible that this is one of the actual situations when we're dealing with sort of these lights in the sky, is maybe tourism from the future, or even, let's say, that technology being imperfect, and so where they might be invisible or should be invisible, maybe it's sort of bleeding into our reality in some capacity where it should not. I don't know. A lot of ways to look at that, of course, and a lot of angles to take it. But yeah, everybody's welcome to jump in here if you want to be part of the conversation. We're just hanging out and doing Friday nights like we do it, non-radio format, as you know. So we'll just talk about this. Whoever wants to jump in, Matthew, I'm going to get you in here because I know you're chomping at the bit. You always are. And so non-radio format, as you guys know, normally we do a radio show that goes 3 hours, but we have the radio breaks and all the rest of this stuff. But this is just the whole point is to break this down and talk to each other and sort of just remove the obstacles to what that looks like. So yeah, but that's where we start tonight. That's what's on my mind. I'm calling this, again, UFO Zeitgeist Fridays. I don't know, should we call it FAFO Fridays, or I don't know, something else? I don't know, whatever. I don't really care. What's in a name, right? But so that's one of the ones that kind of stuck in my mind as well. We haven't really dug deep into this quite yet, this idea of post-human entities and what we might become. And we know right now, currently, we are dealing with this multi-planetary species bit. Elon is, whether you like the man or not, he seems hell-bent on, well, not just dismantling the government. We'll leave that aside for the moment, but hell-bent on going to Mars. And that right there is the first step into this, again, post-human entity, because we will become, well, I guess depends on who you ask. Don't ask Joe McMoneagle of the remote viewing sessions of the days of yore, but we would become the first Martians, and even our human evolution would become a Martian evolution, and we would eventually become the aliens ourselves. So when you talk multiplanetary, suddenly what it means to be a human becomes a mouthful, becomes a head full of ideas that we don't even know what that looks like yet. And I think just kind of thinking about what will look like with the acceleration, the quickening that I'm always talking about, just on Earth, it's, the next 50 years are going to be incredible. And what will we turn into? You tell me. I don't really know. But however, when you add Mars into it, then, or who knows, maybe Titan, or what are some of the other habitable possible planets that could be part of this? I think we have a I don't know, maybe something interesting, on the horizon. So yeah, that's where my mind is at tonight. I see you guys in the chat. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for all the enthusiasm for the shows. I do realize that it's Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. And so if we have a light crowd or something, or not much interest in the conversation, that's cool. We can shut it down a little bit earlier or something, because I know everybody's out there playing Barry White and bringing roses and chocolates and all the stuff. My wife is actually working. She works nights. Sometimes it's kind of shift stuff. So she ended up working tonight. So anyway, so she's out. She will be in a little bit later. But yeah, that's what's going on. And what about Valentine's Day too? What about that? Am I too cynical when I say nobody tells me when to get busy? You know what I'm saying? Is that too cynical? I don't know. I've never been one for the calendar and kind of doing that type of stuff when you're supposed to do it, right? You stay on schedule with all the holidays and stuff and do all the things when you're told. My problem with authority rears its ugly head. I see you guys in the chat. What's up over there on Rumble? Hope you're well tonight. YouTube bumping. I see just doing what we do, hanging out. Yeah, let's add that wrinkle to it. Is Valentine's Day a thing, or is it more cultural programming? Yeah. Yeah. For cynical Mike's amusement here. Okay. But so back to this, let's read this thing down the bit. But so, okay. One of the more compelling ideas is that UFOs are not visitors from other planets, but artifacts from different points in time. Here's a few points. Future surveillance, kind of, again, sort of that tourism bit. What if UFOs are reconnaissance tools sent back in time by future civilizations, monitoring historical events without directly interfering? And that's been on my mind a lot lately with the retrocausality stuff. And, is it possible to sort of influence the future by from the future to the past? And of course, the way to do that would be through some sort of reconnaissance tool like this, some sort of actual specific and direct way to see back into the past. And one of the weird things regarding that, one of the conspiracies, is that coronavisor. You guys heard of that? That weird Vatican supposed tool or whatever that allows the people in the Vatican to see back into the past, right, through some sort of contraption or whatever. And again, I know it's a deep conspiracy and all the rest of that stuff. And is it real? You pick, you choose. I don't really care. I think the ideas are more fascinating than whether it's real or not. But let's say it's possible, then maybe something like that would be what they would use in the future and look back on us with, something like that. Anyway, so time travel malfunctions. And this is the part that kind of got me going, okay, yeah, this makes some sense. So again, theoretically, conceptually, as always, no answers here, just more questions and ideas. But some UFOs could be the result of failed or incomplete time travel experiments, appearing sporadically when something disrupts their stability. And that makes some sense, right? They're supposed to be completely invisible to us. However, when they sort of phase in and out and have some sort of possible malfunction, maybe they're everywhere. Maybe these things are invisible and everywhere all the damn time. And what happens is we kind of see them when they bleed through, or when there's a slight malfunction as part of their, time travel surveillance process or whatever. I don't really know. Just some ideas. Just to start us off, like I said, these conversations, if you know me, I like to just take them wherever they go, because my job is to bring an idea to start, and then we just let this go wherever it goes. Third point here, temporal warping. So maybe these craft don't arrive at all, actually arrive in quotes. Instead, they briefly overlap with our present moment due to distortions in space-time. Where we're going, we don't need roads, a space-time continuum, right? Good stuff. Or quantum echoes, of course. What if UFOs are fragments of our own technological future bleeding into the past before we fully understand them? Yeah. And the term in the bottom here, I thought this was pretty cool. So the wild idea, suppose UFOs aren't piloted by aliens, but by post-human entities. Our distant descendants evolved beyond our recognition, returning to observe their origins. What if the cover-up isn't about extraterrestrials, but about hiding the fact that our own future is far stranger than we realize? Yeah. There you go. That starts us out. That kicks it off. Everybody's welcome. Like I said, if you want to be part of the conversation on X, just raise your hand up. We'll get you in here. And Matthew, thanks for popping in. I see you there, buddy. Welcome. I know you were chomping at the bit when we started. Welcome to the joint. How are you, sir? Happy Friday. Well, happy Valentine's Day. What do you know about UFOs?
Happy Valentine's. Be mine, buddy. Yeah, I gotta go with jumping in on the side of, I think this thing's got legs, and I think there's, enough things that most people are aware of and get talked about that certainly make it, possible or plausible or not a ridiculous idea, what you're talking about. And, just going back to the idea that around Roswell time and first blowing up the nuke seemed to be when the Greys arrived on the scene, and the old, story that maybe it kind of poked a hole in the time-space continuum or opened up a dimensional rift or portal, and that's when they started bleeding through. Well, if you take that and look at the 50 other nukes we blew up, including the atmosphere, and then the increasing arrival of ships over time, maybe there's that ties into this. And also, I was thinking, to steal my own thunder here a bit, I was thinking, well, before I go, I tend to agree with what I think I heard you say, that I've never been a big fan of like the gray aliens are humans, 3 million years in the future or whatever, that come back in time. And the reason I say that is whenever I've heard it or thought it, just something in my gut goes, nah. I mean, I'm just saying like intuition or my higher self or my, if you believe in guides or my own soul or whatever, just goes, nah. That's not right. So obviously I can't have any actual objective knowledge about it. So if you don't have objective scientific knowledge and your brain can't figure it out intellectually, sometimes just go with your gut, and that intuition thing. Well, that's my gut and intuition response. But having said that, you still say, for example, let's say the Greys are from the future, or just the UFOs showing up in the sky right now are from the future. But dig this one, instead of 300,000 years in the future or a million years in the future, what if it's 3 years in the future? And there's, kind of first contact and UFOs flying around all the time 3 years from now. But they're sort of bleeding back through that semi-permeable membrane that, between the timelines, or dimensions and temporal rifts. And so we're seeing now what arrives materially 3 years from now, right? So it may not be from the distant future, who knows, but it could still be, some type of time travel or something.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, closer than we ever dreamed. And again, I talk about the quickening, that technological singularity that seems to be, closer than we ever dreamed as well as part of it. So maybe time travel is about to be invented. Maybe it's been invented. Maybe this type of stuff, it's in somebody's garage somewhere, this machine just needs to be hooked up. Or I mean, who knows with that kind of stuff, right? But maybe it is quite a bit closer than we dreamed, because in 3 million years from now, I don't know, that's a long time. That's just a very, very long time. A long time for evolution, especially in a technological space, the transhumanist space that we're always talking about. Yeah, I think it definitely plays as part of it, that maybe it's closer than we think. And that's what's always on my mind recently. As you guys know, I'm talking about AI a lot, and how it not just affects, let's say, the zeitgeist and how we feel about things, and anxiety for the near future, losing jobs, all the rest of this stuff. Like robots are going to be sort of walking around on the street soon, probably very soon. They're already out there in some places, serving you at Denny's and things like this. So it's weird. We are in sort of this turning that is going to be odd, and it's going to be difficult to adjust for a lot of people. It's going to be good for a lot of people, folks that can't do physical things, or that think helping granny take out the trash type stuff, bringing the groceries, that type of stuff will be fantastic for this type of robot stuff. But I don't know, when they're suddenly everywhere and everybody's got 2 robots in their house, I don't know, things get weird, don't they?
Yeah, well, let me take what you just said about the quickening and everything going on, and apply it to perhaps the subject at hand, and see how it fits or might make sense, or tend to confirm it. Well, let's add on the geopolitical stuff. I mean, a lot of people think we came real close to literally a worldwide nuclear war, last fall. So We maybe dodged a bullet there. Was that some sort of change in the timeline? Was something done by benevolent extraterrestrials coming back in time to prevent us blowing ourselves up? But just look in general at the quickening and the geopolitical stuff and the environmental stuff and the technology stuff you talked about. Add it all together. And, like you say, may you live in interesting times. Well, okay, so if we just go from, wow, these are radical, interesting times with some pretty big stuff going down, wouldn't that be the exact period in history that somebody that could travel through time, like the UFOs, even future humans, would want to do to try and observe, monitor, just to be a historical tourist to see, when stuff was all hitting the fan, or to try to alter events. But the thing I think about is, if these extraterrestrials are coming from other worlds or even other dimensions, but let's just say other worlds, they're coming from so far away. They're not flying even at light speed. They're beyond that. They have to be using something like an Einstein-Rosenberg bridge, or wormhole, right? Well, if they've mastered that level of technology, I mean, they're kind of going through time, space, and space-time anyways. I mean, they've kind of got that handled. So is it really, it doesn't seem too much of a stretch that they're sort of masters of time and can go, forward or backwards, perhaps at will. So just the nature of the phenomena almost suggests or implies time travel at its foundation. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Which is interesting because a lot of the many cases, let's say, I don't know about a lot of them, meaning percentage wise, but many cases in the past have suggested some sort of time dilation when you get close to UFOs. So that makes a ton of sense right there. Jeff and Wisco, what's up, buddy? Welcome to the thing. Everybody's welcome if you want to pop in tonight. It's just Friday nights hanging around. How you doing? We're here with Matthew in Colorado, Jeff and Wisco. Of course, I'm Mike in Las Vegas, and we're just talking UFOs and wherever else the conversation leads. What's up, brother? How are you?
Hey, Jeff. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, man. How's everybody doing tonight? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. You sound great.
Good. All right. My kid caught me. I was like, no, don't be talking to me no more. But anyway, sorry. So I loved how this opened up. I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to get in here because I've been thinking a lot on this stuff. So here I got something for you guys to think about. So time travel. What if it's not real, right? What if it doesn't exist? I'm going to think about that for a second. Like this, let's say it doesn't exist. I have a theory that could be, it could kind of explain some things, how this could still be a relevant thing, where what if they're not from the future and they're actually from the past? Like where maybe at some point during Earth's 4.5 billion years of existence, a civilization actually did flourish and make it and became a type whatever civilization, right? But they kind of hang around here in the depths of the sea or whatever, and this and that, and maybe they're just hanging around. They're not from the future at all, and they just have super awesome technology from way back when. Because a different time, but very different time from now, but still very much more advanced.
Yeah, the old breakaway civilization bit. That's intriguing as hell too, for a lot of reasons, because there are places in the world, as we know, that are just completely unexplored. The ocean specifically, which has been kind of hot in the UFO zeitgeist recently as well. People talking about that declassification thing. I don't know if you guys saw that with Paulina Luna talking about what was it? They're basically opening up a declassification panel for the JFK stuff, for UFOs, and even including, they mentioned specifically underwater UFOs, USOs. So I was like, that's interesting. I wonder what they actually know about that stuff. And is it, like an ancient Cthulhu level, a Riley or whatever they call it, beneath the waves, some sort of ancient civilization that's just down there, been there forever in some very, very dark part of the ocean that, and maybe we're disturbing them, or who knows? Who knows what this looks like? Yeah, I love the idea. Why not?
Well, I love that idea too, and I think also there's a possibility, and I like how it does away with the need for time travel. And people that talk about the reptilians say, "Oh yeah, they've been here forever, and they're underground, and there might be different races under the water." But the other thing is, you could consider both could be going on. There could be otherworldly extraterrestrials and terrestrial aliens that we call them, right? So you could combine them.
I would say that there's probably definitely both, right? I mean, because here's going back to what you said a little bit ago about the light speed travel and this and that, and so put this into perspective. The craft that I seen back in the it was the early '90s when I seen it. If this makes any sense, my thought was that it was faster than the lightest speed because just of how. From where it was just sitting stationary to then all of a sudden across the sky in a flash, it was just gone. It left in a trail of the same color of like the little circle engines or whatever that were under it, the whatever it was, and that light trail was across the sky for about 2.5 seconds. It just stayed there. And I was like, it was like that light signature like completely stayed in my vision for about 2 seconds. So I don't know physics or anything like that, but I was like, is that faster than the speed? I don't know.
Well, one thing about the speed of light supposed rule, a physicist will tell you nothing can go faster than the speed of light. However, physicists will also tell you that the space in between matter in the universe is expanding faster than the speed of light. So it just means, they say stuff can't go faster than the speed of light, but that's not the maximum speed. According to a physicist, the speed can go faster than the speed of light. So and that applies to the non-physical, to the space. Well, if you're going through, a wormhole, or somehow transcending the physical, maybe coming from a different dimension, well, then definitely faster than speed of light's an option. That only applies to physical stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It kind of changes the equation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Which is, I don't know. I think a lot of ways to look at this as usual. I'd love to hear all the theories and what people, especially what Jeff is describing here. He's seen it and he's kind of describing, think about when you break the sound barrier, there's like the sonic boom, right? That whole bit. I wonder what it would look like if you were able to sort of just crack into the speed of light right in front of somebody without, ripping a hole in the time-space continuum in a catastrophic manner. But would you see a, sort of a streak in the sky like that, kind of cutting through? Maybe we got the Robert in here as well. What's up, Matthew? Robert, we got Jeff and Wisco. Everybody's welcome. I see you, B and Ricky on X. I said hi to everybody else. Hope you guys are doing well tonight, just hanging out. Friday nights on Troubled Minds, what is it, Fireside Chats or whatever. Yeah, go ahead, Robert, if you got anything on that. A great tale there, Jeff, and you're welcome to stay. Of course, we're just chopping it up.
Hey,
I was just thinking, pardon me, this is the Robert. What a little added to what Jeff was saying. He puts forward that this might be thousands of years old former civilization and not time travel. They just existed on this earth for all these years and have kept hidden. But I also think, I was listening to what he was saying, I thought to myself, well, Einstein basically said that you can only go forward in time. All right. And maybe, yeah, he's right that that's an old civilization from tens of thousands of years ago, but they're traveling into the future from where they originated from.
Well said. Everybody try to jump in there. Go ahead, Jeff, on that.
So I've been looking at like this a lot, like just from a past thing, right? I've been looking a lot at this because in some ways it's starting to come together, right? In my mind, maybe I'm crazy, but I just look at some things, just like some of the other civilizations around, the Egyptians or the Mayans or whatever. You look at them and how they ended, or anything like that, and it's like there's always some kind of catastrophic thing that happens, or or something happens, and we come around full circle basically again, right? It just seems like this, and I look at it like maybe they're just different, just different times, but still advanced. Maybe at a different time you advance and you invent different things in a different way, use different materials or whatever. So things just look different. I mean, look at this. Here's some real world examples, right? Okay, so we have that QR code thing, right? You know what I'm saying? Imagine what the hell a civilization is going to see when they see that, like, in a freaking million years or whatever from now. Like, it's a bunch of dots and a thing. Like, what does this mean, right? And here we're looking at like hieroglyphs and stuff, like this. Like, maybe they had some kind of scanning technology, and it was just. I just think about some things like this, right? Because it kind of makes sense where they've recorded this stuff and they're leaving us tips and messages and things of this nature to like what happened, and you know what I mean, and maybe it's time we start listening or something, type of thing. And like that's where each civilization comes to, and it in my mind, like just looking at like Noah or something like that story where he's he had to save a bunch of stuff or whatever. He's like, so I'm looking at that in a real world example. Like, okay, so like let's say a flood came right now, right? There's a bunch of average people that may survive, right? They just that might survive, and what you're going to do is probably try to go somewhere where you have some kind of whatever technology is left that you can use to help you, whatever you need to do to like survive. So, and imagine you're like, it's a flood, so there's a lot of water, but you get to some kind of a land. Now, currently in this day and age today, there's tribes like that they're tribes. You know what I mean? They're like in like Amazon. No civilization, contact, nothing, right? Now, what if they survived? And then now this guy comes in, and that's all that's left, right? Now this average guy comes in, but with some technology and whatever, and he comes into this tribe, and all of a sudden they're like, whoa, this guy's, and now they're starting to write about him, right? Now they're writing stories about him, and you kind of see where I'm going with it a little bit.
Yeah, he's the gods have arrived. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. And it's just, it's simple, but like really there's a thing, it does happen, and they do record these things, and it's like, well, maybe there's more to this, like, I don't know. Not like a doomsday or anything like that, but like just there's something to it. I mean, they went recorded in stone.
Or you have a civilization tens of thousands, maybe 100,000 years old from, in the past history of the earth. And they've been traveling forward into time, all right, from their timeline, traveling further into time, and they see what we're doing, all right? And maybe when you, like, for example, the Bible, the prophecies in the Bible and the whole business, they see that we basically come so close to ending civilization, and they saw it happen. So, and they're traveling to the future, and they're telling people, they're putting these, prophecies forward to a single person who will listen, and they write them down, right? And so maybe all these prophecies were basically put down as a warning because they were traveling the future and they saw this awful stuff happening, and it was a way of stopping it.
Well, yeah, I wanted to respond to both of those comments and what Jeff was saying. There's probably not a time that somebody hasn't asked on an internet UFO group I'm on, are the aliens, good or are they bad? And I respond with, which aliens are you talking about? Are you talking about the grays, or going back to the whatever it was, Secretary of Defense or assistant in Canada that's like, there's 40 different kinds of aliens visiting Earth. And then there was a country in Europe, I can't remember which country said that. And then the Russian former head Secretary of Defense said, oh, yeah, a guy in my position gets briefed on all the types of aliens in our country. It's just like, there's a lot. And just tying that into what we've been talking about, are some of them the historic terrestrial ones that just survived? Are some of those from that came forward into the future, like the Robert's talking about? That could be true. Both of those could be true. Are some from other worlds? That could be true. Are some from other dimensions? That could be true. Maybe that's why we have 40 different types flying around, right? They're all over the damn place. All these sources combined. So who knows?
There's an agenda somewhere.
Yes, but they're illegal aliens, and I'm sure our president will do something about it.
Easy. Let's not go there. I don't want to devolve into that. What's up? We got Herschel's here. Also, Ricky over on Twitter X. What's up, guys? Hope you're well tonight. Leave each other space. Like I said, I'd rather just shut up and listen to you guys. I do enough talking. But welcome, Herschel. Welcome, Ricky. Ricky was here first. Get in here, and I'll shut my mouth. What's up, Ricky?
I would say just throw this out here. The aliens from maybe time travelers, and the possibility, of course, is there. They talk about that Earth was brought back down basically to 4 or 5 times. Brought it back down to minimal. Post. Like the one we know for sure, or pretty well know for sure. The younger dryas and stuff. But one throw out there is we're probably all right on all of it. It's all the way across the board. I mean, it could be. That's why you're talking about there's so many different ones. And talking about there's what would you just say 40 different ones. So some of it could be ancient ones that are here, time traveling to come and check on us. It could be extraterrestrials coming flying in, looking. I mean, it could be all of them to be combined. There's so many different ones. You get the lizard people down in the water and stuff like that. All of it. It could be all correct at the same time. I think everybody gets on the. Some people get in the point where it's got to be one or the other, but why can't it be all of them? It really could. I mean, because there's so many different ones, and you look it down in ancient Incan cities, and you see all the faces and stuff that you see. They got gray alien faces in the wall and stuff like that. So it's possible, the possibility that they've been coming here for a long time on the alien side, but the possibilities of everything we've talked about, or everything y'all said tonight, is all of it's true, because there's so many different ones coming in at us at one time. And I think that's my point of view on it. I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a little bit of all of it at the same time, and I think that's what when people want to try to put it in a box, that's what limits the talk. I know we don't put stuff in boxes here, but when others talk about these subjects, it puts it all in a box, and but it don't need to be in a box. I believe you need to be able to look at it on all realms, and all realms be very viable and possible at the same time.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's the way I see it. And real quick, I just wanted to say what Jeff said about, going faster than light, and Mike asking what that would look like. I would imagine it looks probably really close to Star Trek when they go to warp speed, and probably and sort of stretches out what it looks like and leaves those tracers of the engines behind. And it sounds like that's kind of what Jeff saw. I think that's what it would look like.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I can't believe it was just weird how it was like 1,000, 2,000 that was still there. It was pretty magnificent.
How long ago was this?
This was in I think 93, 94.
Whereabouts?
Bloomer, Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin.
Nice. Okay. Sweet.
Yeah, it was so like basically what it was a triangular craft, right? I mean, I could tell because of while it was stationary above me, it was a ways up in the air. It was nighttime, but you could see the circles. So there was at each point of each circle there was at the triangle there was a circle, right? So and then in the middle there was a circle that was a little bigger, and it was so bright. It was like the brightest orange. It was like this magnet. It was like this. The way I could describe it is like lava, but like high definition. When it's super bright, and it was just so bright that it caught the edge of the triangle, so I could tell it was a triangular shape. And I was like, when I was looking, I was like, "What the hell is this?" Because it was just I was looking away, and then I looked back, and it was just there. And I'm like, "What the hell is this?" And then it shot across the sky and left that streak, just same color, that orange, just ridiculous.
That's wild. It's that classic TR3B, right? That triangle shape, the lights on each point.
I think so, and I've done a lot of research on that, on that TRB3, and it's even, of course, done a lot of like, footage of similar whatever things. But the one thing I never seen was it shoot away. I always seen it moving. It's always like moving slowly. It's never like hovering. It's like always like moving slowly or something. And this was just like stationary and then gone. See ya. Was nuts.
Wild.
I mean, so in my mind, I was like, I don't, after doing the research and stuff, I'm like, I don't know if it was a TRB3. I think this one was like not ours, perhaps. If that makes any sense. Like it was just.
It doesn't sound to me like that's a jet or a helicopter or, I mean, that's something outside the normal.
Yeah. Toss out the prosaic explanations there. Herschel, what's up? What's up, brother? Welcome to the thing. You're here with all the rest of us. I see Robert want to get in here, but let's say hi to Herschel, and then you guys go right ahead.
Hey, how's it going? I wanna read something. It's not a story. Sometimes you guys know I call in and I read a story, but I just have some thoughts that I took some notes on, and then I used technology to kind of help me organize them, and I wanted to read them off.
Herschel's a robot.
But
Herschel's a robot. Sorry, go ahead.
you know how I think that they're both from our past and our future at the same time. And I think that if time travel exists in the future, then it has always existed. So, it's a whole range of things happening with some of these. And I agree with Ricky where it could be people from other places, but also just. So here, let me read this stuff, you guys, okay? I'm not convinced that aliens truly avoid us, nor am I convinced that what we see are actually aliens. Let's talk about the visible light spectrum. We only see a small part of it, from about 400 to 700 nanometers, which includes all the colors of the rainbow as described, However, there's more beyond what our eyes can naturally perceive. The more scientists discover about other spectrums of light, like ultraviolet or infrared, and the new ones that they're discovering all the time, the more phenomena we observe. I suspect that some of what we label as aliens might just be entities existing in light frequencies beyond our visual range. This idea has led me to think that these beings aren't necessarily from outer space. They might be here, just unseen by us due to their frequency of existence. So let's touch on the concept of auras. We all have an aura, an energy field that radiates from us, yet unseen, yet very real. If these so-called aliens also have auras, perhaps they are much more luminous or on a different spectrum than ours, which explains why we can't see them. This brings us to a discussion, I'm going to get weird and philosophical, on materialism, not in the consumerist sense, but as a monistic philosophy, where all things are considered matter. In materialism, even thoughts, light, and frequencies are forms of matter. This perspective could help us understand why we might not see these beings, their matter, in a form we're not equipped to detect. Monism, as exposed to dualism, views everything stemming from one source. You could think of the yin-yang symbol. A dualist focuses on the yin and yang, while a monist sees the circle encompassing both. this also ties into how we perceive things. Given this, if these beings are here sharing our plane of existence, why call them aliens? They could be native to this planet or this dimension, just operating on a different plane of frequency or consciousness. Now, this part is interesting, okay? I mean, this is we've all heard the other stuff, but this part, to me, is the most interesting. Their sensitivity to emotions might be thousands of times greater than ours, explaining why they might avoid us or why interactions could be uncomfortable for them due to our emotional projections. Like, if they are a different kind of light, if they're a different kind of, energy, and we're walking along and then we look up on a ridge and there's one of these beings from some other place, and it frightens us, right? We get scared, it startles us. They could feel that. They might feel our fear projecting onto them. That could be really painful for them. Like, we don't know how sensitive they are. We know that, we've all heard and some of us have had experiences where when we see these crafts in the sky, we get a very strong sense that they are aware of the fact that we are aware of them, and vice versa. So they might even feel our emotions even much more stronger than that. And it could just behoove them to want to avoid us because they don't like feeling that, So I'm a large, muscular guy. I walk into a room. People sometimes project their fear onto me, assuming that there is a threat when there is none. Imagine how much more intense this would be for beings sensitive to far subtler energies. They might see us like we see wildlife, sharing the same space but living in different worlds. Interaction might not serve any purpose for them, just as we don't integrate with wildlife in their natural habitats. And then in here, I recommend reading a book called R.D. Laing, The Politics of Experience. The first part of the book, The Politics of Experience, and The Bird of Paradise. I really strongly suggest people read that. He touches on similar themes of consciousness, perception, and interaction across different states of being. So, R.D. Laing was a psychoanalyst and a psychiatrist. So he dealt with people who had mental illness, and he describes that if people are so different that there's no way that you can interact with them normally because they're just in a different state of being. And I really strongly suggest reading that to everybody. I always do. So in conclusion, the idea that these beings are aliens might be a misnomer. They could very well be a part of this Earth's ecosystem, just on a frequency or a plane that we can't currently access or understand. And perhaps that is for the best.
Yeah, right on. The part you said was the end, where it gets interesting and important part about them being sensitive. Well, that just reminds me, and I've thought it, and then you said it. I mean, there's people, just regular human folk, that are more sensitive than others. And, I have psychometry and can feel energy from objects and people and locations. So there's people that, and I don't mean this in a egotistical way, but there's people that, let's say, they're more spiritually in tuned or have engaged in those practices that perhaps make them more sensitive, and maybe they have sort of a higher vibrational frequency because of their spiritual work. Well, if we consider, and I would maybe focus this on sort of benevolent, spiritual type oriented extraterrestrials or terrestrials, but what we would call aliens, I would say, well, they would be in a similar boat, and like you said, maybe even much more so. So, and especially it occurred to me, they always talk about their primary communication with us during abductions and with each other is all telepathic. So if you add in they can read minds and telepathic, and they're energetically and emotionally sensitive, yeah, being around humans might be really not so great for them. I'm not an empath, but I'm a member of an empath group. And these people have trouble, going in public and don't like to go to Walmart. People are affect them so much. It's like, well, imagine these, spiritual extraterrestrials that have telepathy. They're like, no, I don't like hanging out with humans. That's not good for me. So I totally get what you're saying. I love it.
Yeah, that's a really good. The empath is a really good. Like, I'm kind of like that too. Well, I don't know if I'm an empath. I'm an introvert. Being around people wipes me out. Being alone, I gather strength. Then when I go out around people, then it wears me down. And it's just so it's the opposite of an extrovert. Like, extroverts get energy from other people. Other people drain my energy. So, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I really think there could be something to that. We could be our range of emotions could be a lot for them to deal with if they're so sensitive that they know when we're looking at them when they're flying overhead. You know what I mean? Then imagine if we saw them and got frightened, what they would feel.
Right. And, there's a lot of, from the, CE5 protocols of calling them down and signaling. And, there's just a lot of stories where it does seem that people can have like a telepathic communication with a ship in the sky and get feedback, or they respond and come closer or whatever. And so you can imagine if there's that kind of link, they might have an emotional link as well. And like you said, the people are probably, from my own sighting of an anti-gravity ship, my first response, I froze. I couldn't move. My feet were locked to the ground for about 3 seconds. And I couldn't think straight. They talk about fight or flight, but people usually don't mention the freeze response. And it's actually freeze, flight, or fight. And that's the first one that I found happens. And I talked to somebody else who had an experience, and it was on a Bigfoot group. And they said, oh, yeah, I saw it with 2 of my friends, and we couldn't move. We just jaws slack, and you're dumbfounded. Your feet are planted. You're freaked out. So you imagine, okay, somebody just seeing a craft in the sky and having a telepathic and maybe emotional link. And what they're going through emotionally is, first they're frozen, then maybe they're terrified and thinking fight or flight. That's probably enough for the extraterrestrials. They're like, we're not going any closer to these guys. They're whacked, right? By our presence is upsetting to them. And if we were around that upset, it's going to, wig us out, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And if all of these different things are all material, if our emotions are material, the light that reflects off of us is material, the emotions that we have are all material, they obviously have a different way of gathering that energy than we have. It's obvious. So I always just I go back and liken it to, why would I go live among deer? Like, why would I go live among coyotes?
Can you?
It doesn't make any sense.
Can you expound on what you mean when you say they have a different way of gathering that energy? Do you mean the emotional energy, or
since all energy is matter, they might, and if they have a wider range of perceiving the light spectrum, the energy spectrum, it might be deeper too. So the emotions that we feel might be uncomfortable. Like, it might be like if somebody shines a spotlight into your eyes. It might be like somebody is in close proximity to you and sets off a siren or shoots a gun and it hurts your ears.
right?
Since all of these different, since all matter is energy, that means our feelings are matter. That means our reactions are matter. That means when we're startled, when we laugh, all of this is matter. Right. That could be affecting them in a way that we can't even understand because they have a different way of sensing things.
Right. You know, it almost makes me think, if you look at humans, of course, we have the five senses, but then let's say we throw in intuition and some emotional stuff. Maybe they have some fundamentally different ways of perceiving reality and observing things and feedback mechanisms that aren't like human five senses and aren't like intuition. They're on a whole different level, like you said.
Precisely.
Imagining that those capabilities they have might be at something like a foundational level of consciousness that they're able to very directly be in that space of consciousness where we're a little more disconnected and in our bodies and brains, but they're just operating at a pure consciousness level. That consciousness level has those capabilities. Humans have them too, is what I'm suggesting, at the level of consciousness within us, or, you know, what is really us. But they're so operating on that level, they have access to that normally we don't, right? So that's what gives them this fuller range of perceptual scope to perceive and feel these energies, right?
I think that's the theory. That's like my hypothesis. Like it's a hypothesis. I think that it's as valid an idea as anything else. You know, if everything is matter, if it's a material realm, if all energy is matter, then some beings are going to perceive things that we don't perceive. They might perceive our feelings as light. They might you know what I mean? They might or a sound that's uncomfortable, or a physical feeling. You know, who knows what their skin is like? Who knows? Their skin might be like people have said when they see some of these beings that they don't have ears. Their entire body might be like a big eardrum. Like it might be so sensitive that they feel everything through their skin.
Right, kind of like an ox. Yeah, well, yeah. I expounded on that because I like the idea. I just wanted to make sure I understood what you're talking about, and I definitely do, and I agree for sure.
It's as good of a possibility thing, but I do think that there are beings from other places that have been passing through and that do pass through normally. And I also do think time travel is real. I do think that there's a way, not that we can do it, but that just because we can't do it doesn't mean it's not real.
Yeah, but the thing is, Hirsch, I mean, Jeff, going by what I was saying earlier about if there's an ancient civilization hundreds of thousands of years old and they're traveling through time, because you're going to go forward through time, at least that's the science right now these days. It means they get trapped, because if they travel into the future, they can't go back in the past.
Well, if we're already gone, then we're a part of their past. Like if they existed before us, and then we existed and then went extinct, and they continue to exist, then that's different. Like they can travel, and because we've come and gone, and their position in the universe compared to us is objective.
Does anybody remember back in the mid 90s, something called the alien autopsy? Anybody remember that?
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
Remember, they said it was fake and all sorts of stuff, and maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But when they opened up this alien, he had, kind of like grayish or some kind of bone type of thing inside him. That's what his organs look like. Well, I saw the other day that I think it's Japan. Maybe it isn't. Maybe, it's some country that has developed human-like robots that have muscles that are hydraulically operated, and also internal organs that they put in it to, I guess, facilitate whatever else there is there. But what brings that autopsy to mind, and what they're managed to build right now, internal organs, muscles, that sort of thing. I'm thinking to myself, the alien autopsy, maybe that was an android.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of people that say that, like, short grays, that's exactly what they are. Is they're kind of like the Terminator, where they're an android on the inside, but they have human skin and maybe some human, not human, I mean, biological flesh exoskeleton, right? Like Terminator, where he's got real skin on his arms, sort of deal. And then they say that there's the taller ones that are more like 5 feet, 6 feet, that they're actually legit aliens, and they're the ones that created the little, call them automatons. So they're like their little droids. So, yeah, people say that for sure.
What do all you think about, this commission that I think Representative Luna's chairwoman over? And they're going to investigate all these things, from the Kennedy assassination to UFOs to underwater UFOs and that sort of stuff. What do you think when it comes to the UFO part of it? Where they're going to get disclosure on all that? Because this is a separate committee from what was going on before.
I think it's all in the same.
Yeah, okay, but what do you think will come out of that? I mean,
I don't know. I don't know, but I think that some of the people who are in our government now, with this new batch of people, are starting to realize that how serious it is, and that they have to live up to the promises that they made. And I think it's freaking them out. And I'm not saying that they can't do it and that they're not going to do it. I'm just saying that they said, we're going to have transparency. We're going to get to the bottom of these things. We're going to really look at these things, and we're going to show. And now they realize that they're actually in a position to do it. And now they have to grow the courage to actually do all the things that and you can see it in their faces. And I'm not saying this in a way of being like ridiculing them. I'm saying go for it. Like do it, but I think you can see now that they realize what they've bitten off and that they have to chew. That's all I'm saying about that.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Real quick, let me get in here. At the top of the hour here, let's just reset this for a moment. So the question that Robert asked is a fantastic one. We're going to get everybody's take on this. But basically, we are on Discord and on X tonight. So the phone line is down. We're not doing the phone line. It's not the radio format. We're just going to talk all the way through. We'll go 3 hours and just talk. And that's the point of doing this, is to just talk to people and get ideas about all these things. I see you, Kramos. We're going to get you up here in a sec. Everybody's welcome. Just raise your hand. We got Ricky there too as well. Ricky, I know you're on X over there, which is most of the people are on the Discord for right now. For now, we're gonna build some folks over there on X to hang out and come. But chime in whenever you need to. Cut on in and just respect each other, guys, and let people talk. And you guys have been doing fantastic. I'm gonna sit here and shut my mouth. But everybody's welcome. Put your hand up. We'll get you in here both on X and on Discord. And we're just hanging out doing what we do. And a fantastic question by Robert specifically. What do you guys think of it? And I'll give you my take on it, and then I'll shut up. I'm very cynical when it comes to any sort of government disclosure, period. And as I said, I posted this when all that was happening. There was the big speculation of what happens on Tuesday, whatever day that was, at noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. We're like, we're going to learn about UFOs. And it was, as Herschel said, I stole Herschel's line. It was a meeting to announce another meeting, right? Another committee or whatever. And so I don't know. Basically, my take is they could with the stroke of a pen, release all that stuff now. But for some reason, they want to, quote, investigate it and then release it to us in a curated fashion. So call me a cynic, but again, I think that why wait? Let's just write the thing down on a piece of paper and say, here's the files, let the internet do their thing. Parse the data.
Wait a minute, Mike.
Let's talk about this. Yeah, go ahead.
Wait a minute, Mike. There's two investigations going on when it comes to the UFOs and the underwater UFOs. One's a committee. All right. Trump didn't set up that committee. He just ordered the release of all information involving UFOs, whatever they are. All right. This committee was set up not through his auspices, but on their own. So there's two different things going on.
I thought so you're saying that the actual bit that he wrote, because he did a presidential, what is it called, an executive order to release the JFK files. So this is not the same thing. I thought this was a committee based on that.
That order didn't. He's releasing all files on Kennedy, RFK, MLK, also the Jeffrey Epstein, also the UFOs and whatever. All right, he signed executive orders for that. All right, but when he signed executive orders for the UFOs, that wasn't creating that committee in Congress. That was simply a presidential order to release them.
Okay.
And look, that committee is also going to investigate. The first thing they're going to investigate is the JFK assassination. All right, that's what Luna said. But she's a separate committee. Trump signed an executive order during the release of all those files on JFK's assassination. But the Congress on their own set up their separate committee to investigate all those things that Trump ordered released.
Okay, copy that. Go ahead with your takes on that. That's my take. Clearly, I need to read a little bit more about what's actually happening. Thanks for correcting me. Yeah, I don't know. I try to keep up, but things are moving so quickly.
Luna said that from what she's been able to already determine is that there were at least two gunmen, when it came to the JFK assassination.
I heard that. I was like, what? wait, what? Here we go.
Do you remember I said last week, I think it was last week, when it came to the JFK assassination, one of the most revealing films from that time, it was film back then, was the Secret Service that was running alongside Kennedy's car. Right, that's what they did back then. They ran along. He's going about 5 miles an hour, and they ran along, as security for him, and their supervisor waving them away from the car. And you see one agent throwing his hands up like, what are you talking about? Right, but he was ordered away from the car. All those agents, but they piled up on Vice President Johnson's car. It was like he was the president. They were all over his car protecting him. That's more than anything else. That was a setup. That they pulled those agents out just as he's getting to Dealey Plaza. Want to make that turn?
Fair enough. Who's got a take on the disclosure stuff? Go ahead.
Well, in terms of the Luna Committee, I have no knowledge and can make no comments about it. I'm oblivious to it so far. I'll have to check it out.
It's going to be interesting to see if they actually. I'm kind of with you, Mike. It's going to be interesting to see if they actually do anything, or if it's just more run around.
Or at least it's bipartisan. The committee's bipartisan.
I got my hope. I'm looking, supposedly within the next 10 days, we're supposed to have, the JFK files, the MLK files. I'm scared of the MLK files. I won't lie, but
those JFK files, they suddenly found 2,400 files no one knew existed. They found them about a week ago. 2,400 other files that nobody knew existed.
Yeah, that's amazing. Supposedly.
It sounds like,
whoa, look at this. Would you look at that?
Exactly. It sounds like nobody was looking in the first place. That's the problem, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm hoping that everything is not like how they declassify a lot of stuff and everything's blacked out, and I'm hoping none of that's happening.
I don't think our current president will put up with that.
I hope not. I mean, because that's so far, love him or hate him, he doing what he said he gonna do, pretty much verbatim, and that was part of running the things he ran on. So if he don't get those released, everybody's gonna start looking at everything and go, okay, what else he's not gonna do, and
he's going through with it.
so,
But I tell you, it occurred to me the other day. He doesn't go out much.
No, he's a all go no quit.
he's a busy man.
Yeah, but in his first term, he was all over the place. He was traveling here, traveling there. He sent the vice president over for that conference over there in Germany. Usually he would have gone himself. I think he's been advised to hunker down because what good is it if he doesn't if they manage to get him? And so whatever he's going to try to do, it doesn't get done. But I tell you, I think that if there is a deep state, I think they're really scared. They don't really want to go there anymore because that would just make the vice president, and he would just throw all caution to the wind, send the military in there, the CIA, the whole 9 yards, arrest them all.
Well, the only thing I'd say is I heard he broke his golfing record so far compared to his first presidency. So he gets out, but it's just the golf course.
Okay.
With a lot of
propaganda.
Well, you can't keep him from that.
Okay. Dear God. Yeah.
Of course, he almost got killed at his golf course, back before he was elected.
True that. Yeah. A lot here. I don't know. I'm cautiously, as usual. Look, anything coming from the government, I'm cautiously optimistic. However, I'm also like a cynic at heart, so I'm just like, no, come on, we are not getting this, guys. But I'm hopeful. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong about this and everything else. Kramos, what's up, brother? Welcome to the joint. You've been quiet for a minute. Welcome. Shout out Carla in the chat. Nobody's mad at you. Thanks for hanging out with us. Happy Friday. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Go ahead, Kramos. What's up, brother?
Hello, can you hear me good?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you. Hello to everyone. How did you sleep, Michael?
Like a horse. I slept like a horse. 3 days in a row. I've got my rest is great. Thanks for asking.
That's nice. I was listening and I want to press the reset button, and I want to bring two questions for the people in the panel, in the chat and everywhere, because I think information is making the think again about the endless. It's a endless road. So I have two simple questions. It goes like this: why were you born in a certain place, and why were you born under the specific care of two humans, your parents? That's my question.
It's a good one.
Well,
things that make you wonder,
first?
Because if the situations were different, you could be, somewhere else in the world, and it's one of them deep questions you look back and look at, be thankful. You could, if you're in the United States, I could be with a wealthier family, or I could be with a poor family, or abusive family. I mean, it's one of them things that you could drive yourself crazy with what ifs for sure.
Well, I think that for myself, I think I chose my parents from the other side before I was born, before I incarnated, and for specific reasons, to learn and persevere, endure them, and get through them, and or whatever lessons or I had to learn from that. As far as where I was born, that's where the parents were.
Yeah, it's a deep one. I'm not sure. It goes to the old right. Are we choosing to be here in a particular place, or did we choose our families? Did we choose our circumstance? I don't know. It's kind of the old fate business. Did we plan this, or was this planned for us, or there's a lot there, or not at all? Is it all as random as we're led to believe scientifically? There's a lot here for sure.
In fact, that is my point. All the information that you can share or study or read or believe in, all that information can answer that simple question: why you were born in that specific place, country, whatever, land, continent, and why you were born under the care of your parents, specifically those two humans. My point, I think, all the information, politics, economics, anything, I don't think it helps to answer that question, because I think that question you can answer by emotion and feeling, not information, not theory. I think if you think about it, and the silence for me is the best answer. Why that specific place? Why those two specific humans that are your parents? Why is that? I think more than, in my case, more than answer why, I can be healthier by feeling good about this place and about my two parents. Why? I don't know. Maybe I don't need to know. Maybe I will never know. But I can believe in something. I can believe that I chose them. Maybe, I don't know. And how can you measure that feeling about that specific place and those two specific humans that are your parents?
On the other hand, all right, if for those who have some kind of belief in that we incarnate into this reality, do we always incarnate as human beings? Do we sometimes incarnate as an alien? The people that are flying around our skies. I mean, do aliens have souls?
Do aliens incarnate as human beings?
And vice versa.
Now you guys have done.
I think everything has a soul.
Good, Ricky.
I think there's a title of the book.
Has a soul,
Aliens Among Us is the name of a book, I think. And I think that's the general idea, is that what we would call alien souls incarnated in human bodies. And there's a lot of spiritual people that think that's exactly what they are.
All due respect, I think you're walking around the bush. Can someone give me a straight answer? Why this particular place, and why those two humans that are your parents?
Yeah, absolutely. I know the exact answer. It's above our pay grade, and I don't think we're supposed to know. That's the exact answer.
Well, I think my shot at answering the question, and it's just a shot, is that from the perspective of reincarnation, that basically the soul, before it incarnates, makes a plan for its incarnation, and it sets maybe a half dozen priorities of what it wants to achieve in that incarnation, and that might be resolving some karma that involves certain people. It might involve doing certain projects or services to humanity. Maybe it wants to be a writer, maybe it wants to be a radio show host, maybe it wants to be a politician, whatever. And so it can get the options of different countries to incarnate in, and then choose its race, choose its family, such that, let's say you wanted to go into politics, well, you incarnate as a Kennedy. Let's say you want to go into radio, you end up, in a situation where you can be Michael Strange, or what's his name, Joe Rogan. Okay, so you might have particular purposes that your soul laid out for your incarnation, that by choosing that country, those two parents, and maybe your siblings, it gives you the highest chance to achieve those goals, which are different for each soul. So if your soul wanted a kind of chill out, relaxing life, maybe you incarnated in, some tribe in the Amazon, and you don't care about politics and economics. So, each soul is going to choose in a way to maximize their opportunity to achieve their master plan for this incarnation that they had in mind before they chose which family to incarnate into.
Okay, Matt. Let's take another step on that. If we choose our parents for whatever reason, to achieve what our through what some difficulties, learn something or be something, the parents themselves chose their parents, right? How do the parents that we choose know that what they're supposed to do with me, incarnating into my mother's womb? How do they know what they're supposed to do to get me into the storyline? Right.
Well, what I would say,
I'm going to offer you an answer. All right.
Okay.
The parents, since there is where we come from, if any of this is true, there's no such thing as time. So
right.
The parents are already there. All right. You're talking to your own parents before you're born, and they're agreeing to be your parents. All right. And of course, those parents are agreeing with somebody else to be their children. All right. And the whole storyline is convoluted, is put together, and all participants incarnate, some a little earlier, like the parents, and the children come.
Sorry, but all due respect, there's a part that I don't understand about your statement. How can you choose? How can you be aware that you are making the choice?
As you are. I mean, if any of this is true, you're deciding. First off, you have a guide, you have counselors in the other side who you can consult with. Decide what you want to do, who you want to incarnate with. You get the cast together. What you want to go through in that life.
How you can make the choice? How can you be aware that you are the one that make the choice?
Well,
Because
let me jump in here. So, Robert, I agree, and I would have answered the question very similarly. And I'll just put it this way. When you're on the astral plane, so you're in between incarnations, there is no linear time there. When you're on the astral plane, the year is not 2025. It doesn't work like that, okay? So what you said, Robert, is the way I think about it too. In a way, you could say, let me put it this way. You choose a tentative family, or let's just say you choose a family, you choose your parents. When you're on the astral, because there's no linear time, you can see already the story, like it was a book or a play, of you incarnating what your parents did, how your life turned out, and whether or not it worked for you. So you already have the inside knowledge, like you said, of how the parents are going to make certain decisions about how they raise you or whether you move to a different town or put you in college or not. You already know that. So you're already informed of the storyline. Now, in terms of answering the question of how do you know that you choose? Well, because you're completely conscious at that level. And so you're aware of everything that's going on, and it's a whole process like Robert's describing. And I'll just add in from my own personal experience, being kind of a out-of-body guy and astral travel for decades. I had an experience, and I put it in my book. It's in my Matrix book as a chapter or part of a chapter. No, it's a whole chapter. I don't put in the book that it's based on a real life experience I had. I just ask people to imagine it. But I talk about what I call the Planetary Incarnation Center, and it's based on an actual experience of visiting and witnessing the entire process from the get-go and all the different steps that you go through to pick your incarnation, pick your parents, pick your body, the whole thing. And there's like a series of 6 different things in this process. You kind of go to what we might call like a room. They have things like what we might consider a computer terminal. Of course, they're very different, but that's where you go up and go. You tell them your plan to the like operator of this computer terminal, and they can look up like all the families, all the parents, all the lives throughout human history and go, okay, based on the criteria, we've got 20 options for you to look at. And then they pull up the options. It's like online dating, where you fill out what you're looking for, and it hooks you up with possibilities, and you review those. And then you go to the next step and the next step, and you refine things, and you get to pick whether you're male or female, whether you want to be artistic or intelligent. You get to work on your DNA and certain abilities. So it's a very it's a process. I've watched it. I've been through all the different rooms. You can believe me or not, but that's from what my experience was. That's how that works. And so it's all very, it's conscious. You're making the choices. We'll walk you through it.
Matthew, I think it's a beautiful point. Your statement. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your statement says that you are conscious. My question is, to make the choice, if you're using consciousness, that consciousness belongs to you? I mean, you are the owner of that consciousness, or who is the owner and the builder to use that consciousness that makes for you to be able to choose? I mean, if you have the ownership of your consciousness, I don't think it's like that, but if you are using consciousness to make this decision, is that consciousness yours? Are you the owner? Did you build it?
Well, I would say, to use some different words, I would say that you are the one choosing is a soul, and that soul has consciousness. So that, you could say, is a portion of the unified consciousness that you are an individuated piece of, interconnected with, always, one with. But that's kind of you. That's your identity. That's your soul. So in that sense, you have ownership. But could you really own consciousness when it's unified? No, not really. I mean, you're just kind of borrowing a piece of it, and it gets to be you as an individuation. But yeah, that's you. You're the soul making the choice. That's
so,
my answer.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You can. Are you aware that this piece of consciousness is connected with a higher piece of everything per se, but you are able to administrate this tool. You're not the builder, and you own a little piece of this tool consciousness that you can administrate in certain ways, but you are not the builder.
Exactly.
Okay,
So
I understand.
the analogy would be you have a Tesla car factory and they're all, artificially intelligent and they're networked together like by computers, right? So that's the unified consciousness, but you're just one Tesla vehicle. So you're independent, but you're interconnected and you have communication. So yes, at that level, you're aware that you're intimately connected with all other individuated consciousness, but also the sum total unified consciousness. And
I understand.
yeah.
Yeah, but
It's
how
a very-
about this? How about this? All right. I'm thinking about the Beatles song "Strawberry Fields Forever," and a lyric that goes, "Nothing is real, nothing to get hung about." And then I think about the Star Trek holograph deck. All right, when somebody needs a little vacation, they go on a holograph deck, and virtual reality is created for them, and they think they're living in some other reality, right? And I'm wondering if maybe we are on some kind of holograph deck ourselves, and this is our vacation.
Well, I want my money back because this hasn't been no damn vacation for me.
Hey, real quick, we ran over Ricky like I don't know 10 minutes ago. Ricky, you had a thought, my man. Sorry about that.
I don't even remember what it was now.
My bad.
I remember. It was it was talking about souls and stuff. Man, I kind of think all creatures have a kind of a soul or something. And they have an energy force in them because you see you'll see just look on the internet for videos of animals and they got that one animal will take care of another one that there's that nurturing. Of course, you got the ones that are just uh, the apex predators and stuff, and they just kill stuff. But if you look at like cats and dogs and animals, horses, I mean, it's amazing. I watched a video earlier. I actually reposted it on my Twitter. Um, Twitter, and this I think I did, but it was a video where a horse was sitting there and the little boy was riding around until he actually passed out, and so the pony stopped moving, so the little boy wouldn't fall out. I mean, just the compassion some of these animals have and the heart. I think is that all of it has a soul, and if you do believe in reincarnation, it you see animals act all the time. Like we looking at them, like sometimes if they're not reincarnated, something's going on. It's amazing the difference of how they act so human, and some of their mannerisms and stuff like that. So I do think that we have everything has the energy, has that force. If the Chinese the chi energy, which are, however you want to look at it, but all of it has that energy force, and uh, so I just say that's all I was going to say on that. Was just, I believe, everything has a soul.
How about what do you think about Earth itself? Have a soul? Have a consciousness?
Mother Nature, it could. I mean, the Earth acts like a Mother
They're
Nature
longer
acts
than
like
us.
all the day. It throws tantrums and it seems to it kind of acts out. It seems like some of the weather phenomena we have and the possibility. Yeah, I mean, there. I've seen a report a while back. I think we talked about it on Troubled Minds. If I remember right, maybe we didn't. I don't know. I've flooded the gates so much information in my head every day, but um, talking about the the possibility of like the trees and stuff that actually have that root system just like on Avatar, and actually the plants and stuff communicating with each other. So yeah, I mean, if the plants and stuff are communicating with each other, I mean, why wouldn't it? It's the it's the possibilities there for sure. I wouldn't say a definite no, which to this point in my life, I don't. There's not too much I'll say a definite no for, because there's so many possibilities and things that we really don't truly understand. And until we do, it's um, as we grow as a people, see more and more things come out that are true. That was just science fiction, 50 years ago, and now we understand that it's science fact more and more every day.
Yeah, and the conspiracies just keep coming true. I'll say I'm going to venture out. I'm with you, Ricky. There's a lot of things that are happening in terms of science changing very quickly and consensus reality and all the rest of that stuff. And so there's a lot that I'm not sure about. Like you can see sort of the moving pieces of all these things happening right in front of us if you're paying attention. In my opinion, again, I'm no arbiter of anybody's truth, barely my own. However, regarding the question of does Earth, very well said there, Jeff, is Earth conscious? Does it have a soul? I think yeah. I think absolutely. I think it is sort of the larger archetypal essence of all of us. And so, when you talk about humans and the zeitgeist we're always discussing and the noosphere of ideas and all the rest of this stuff, it's all based on Mother Earth. And, when you talk about, I've talked about primordial nature spirits as my favorite UFO theory, that they've been here forever. They were sort of baked into the planet, baked into the ideas of us before we were here. And so, yeah, I don't know, Will-o'-the-wisp and all the rest. It's amazing stuff. Everybody's welcome.
Here's a little.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
I had something to expound upon that, like just to think, like something to understand, about that, which could make sense. But like if you think about our human body, right? There's all these like little microorganisms that you can't see, right, on our skin and everything, and that are living and are there for a reason or whatever, right? Just like we are on Earth, or other animals and trees and whatever are on Earth. I mean, and then just another thought too is if that those little microorganisms became pretty intelligent somehow and started having nuclear wars on your arm, what would you do? Probably swat it off or something, or do something to get it off, wash it off, right? Maybe, I don't know, you do something, right? That's another thought I had.
Yeah,
Well, if the Earth has a soul, when the Earth dies, which eventually everything does, when the Earth dies, what does its soul look like?
big, big and pretty.
A black hole.
Yeah, I mean,
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, there you go.
A soul can't die, right? Because it's just energy, and energy, it just transform to a different state. So it just like when people say people die, and I disagree with this, because my definition of a person is the soul. So their body dies. But I wanted to correct myself. I made a slight mistake when I referred to my book. I said the chapter was called The Planetary Incarnation Center. That's actually part of it. And the name of the chapter is Your Journey to Earth. And it actually starts at a higher dimensional level. And interestingly, what you just brought up about the Earth being alive, in that chapter in my book, when you're at the Planetary Incarnation Center, it's like you go to the whatever they call the viewing deck on the Star Trek, where observation deck, right? And you go to a place like that, and you look down at planet Earth, and you actually have a conversation with Mother Earth, the soul, the being, and it talks to you, and you have a quick conversation. Now, that wasn't actually something I experienced in my astral travel at the Planetary Incarnation Center. That was writer's literary license. I added that part, but I wanted to include the Earth being alive, so I put that in there.
Okay, so the Earth dies, and like people, it has a soul that transcends. All right, and it could be a beautiful soul, whatever. But does the Earth reincarnate as another planet?
Yeah, it could for sure. Maybe it reincarnates. Maybe it transcends material reality. Maybe the Earth has past lives as other planets, and this is its
Here we go.
100th lifetime, and it finally evolved and graduated, and it's going to reincarnate as a archangel or some being that can go create its own material universe. And
Yeah, but I feel sorry for if that's the truth, and incarnated this energy incarnated as the planet, right? Knowingly that all these MFers are going to drill into it, cut into it, blow it up. Would you like that sort of thing to be being done to your face?
Dude, I was just going to say, what do you think it means to incarnate in a human body? We get cut on by surgeons, we get injured, we get sunburned, we get all the same trauma to our physical body for sure, and then we end up,
but we don't let other people do that to us.
Oh,
right.
Well,
I mean,
if we have the choice,
we've got 7 billion individuals running around the surface of the Earth's face, doing nasty things to it. I can't imagine. That'd be pure hell for me.
And to each other.
All parasitic things aside.
Yeah. What's up? Welcome, Eric, to the joint. Real quick, I want to point out, so Matthew's talking about his book. Please go follow everybody that helps this show. If you should be on this list, it's an oversight. I don't think B is on this list. My apologies. B should be on this list. Always retweeting the stuff we do on X. troubledminds.org/friends. It says Matthew's book. Matt's book's down here. Eric is on there. The Robert is on there. Jeff is on there. You guys, if you help 1 iota, you should be on this list. So just remind me. I'm going to put B on tonight. Sorry, B. I see you there on Twitter X. But welcome to the joint, Eric. Your thought on this or whatever else? You popped in when we were talking about the Gaia hypothesis. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, no, I just love how listening to you guys describe the concept of reincarnation and astral projection. And I'm sitting here and thinking how I absolutely 100% agree with it, but every time I tell somebody about it, I'm telling them about it from a very materialistic standpoint. But the story is exactly the same. I mean, just very minor variations, but essentially the same story. And it's interesting to hear it in a different framework, but it's a universal story. So it's just that's what I'm marveling at.
Yeah, those reality tunnels, as I always talk about, which is, again, probably the most fascinating aspect of all of this, which spawned troubled minds in the very beginning, is how does the materialist see the world versus the religious fundamentalist, and then how do we reconcile those reality tunnels? It's a wild conversation, and there are a lot of parallels. There are a lot of things that you can... Go ahead.
The scariest thing was earlier when somebody said, you could actually reincarnate as Michael Strange. A horror. I would rather abort.
Hey, stop. It's Valentine's Day. You got to be nice to me.
Well, Robert, real quick, I thought when you asked about planets reincarnating, and I said after 100 times, and maybe they become an archon or something, maybe after a planet gets done reincarnating, it reincarnates as the sun. That's like the next level. You go from planet to sun. And then maybe after suns get done, then they become archons and architects of their own universe.
Yeah, with that former question about why did you make the choice that you made that led into how are you sure it was you that made the choice? That was what started it. It was like because I have that same construct, and it's like, how do you know why did you make the choice? It's because I chose these people, and as somebody said, they were in this place. And why did you do that? And as you pointed out, when you're coming from a nonlinear time, you already know the story to everything. So it's not, you already know, it's not, there's no chance involved in it. What you're hoping to do is find a combination that you haven't personally experienced. You know all the combinations, but you haven't went through them directly. And if you go through certain combinations you haven't, you're adding to the overall gestalt of the one, as it were, the energy source that you're renting your conscience from, essentially, which was where that led to. Is how do you know that's you if there is a supreme conscious? Well, no, it's not. It's like the Vedic tradition where you would manifest in an avatar form, and you'd have a Vermana, which was like a part of heaven that you traveled down in, because in a linear time you don't really need consciousness. Consciousness is the product of a linear time stream, not a non-linear time stream. So you wouldn't really need the consciousness on the other side. You only need it when you come here. So it's like you rent it, essentially, a small part of it, and then you. So it was like the same answers, right? Like the same answers. You were saying that or Matt was saying that because you could be wanting to accomplish a particular end, and it's like I don't think that, but I think that you're just trying to accomplish any end you haven't experienced before.
Well, I would say, just to be clear in what I was describing, my opinion is, like I said, you have like 6 parts of your master plan to achieve, and you pick the best scenario for that, the best parents and scenario for that. But I think, so you know those, and those are really important to you, and that's why you make the choice you make. But there's going to be a whole bunch of minor events of, whether your car breaks down or you get fired from a job, that, either they're just details, and you don't know about them, or you just don't care, or you can't do anything about them. So you got to kind of take the good from the bad. So I don't see as like everything's predestined and you don't have free will and free choice, because I think you do. But
what about karma, Matt?
Well, I think I said that part of what you might choose, and the people and relationships and the people you might meet because you choose a particular geography or parents, might be because you have karma to work out with them. Let's
say in a previous life, you were a rake. You were an alcoholic. You drank. You cheated on your wife. The whole 9 yards. She dies of a broken heart or whatever. You come back. This time you're the wife, and she's the problem. All right, and you have to go through all the things that you made in the previous incarnation that wife go through.
Yeah, I think that can definitely happen. I mean, if it's important to resolve the karma with that individual soul, yes. You could also do it more generally, where you have the same circumstances, the same stuff gets done to you, but it's not that soul. Now, from my personal lifetime, there's a guy I was friends with for a while that it came really close in real life to him actually killing me. I mean, he literally drove me out of town in a car with the intent to take my life. And the reason is he became aware that in a past life, I had killed him. And when we were out in the boonies in the wilderness, he told me the whole story. And he's like, and he basically wanted, to complete the karma. It didn't happen, but I can definitely see what you're talking about, where you have specific karma with somebody where the roles get flipped. That was what almost went down for me.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking that you meant anything as solid as predestination. And in my cosmology, where you're doing it to find a combination that you haven't experienced directly before, so that you can experience it, as opposed to having any more of a plan than that, just anything as long as I haven't experienced before. That's kind of where I'm at. Those veils, those things that you're talking about, those things that you can't predict because you're in linear time, like getting fired from your job, and the things that you mentioned, I call those the veils. And those veils are the crux of the reason why, in my cosmology, you choose to go back in the first place. It's because because it's the opposite of linear or nonlinear time, right? In nonlinear time, you know everything. There is no chance. There is no beginning or end to time. So if you roll dice, you know what they're going to be every time, because there's no linear time to make them unfold from unknown to known. So you know this. And when you're back at the source or the one, I'm you and you're me, and we grok each other to the point that there's no real need for conversation because we're the same thing. Only until we separate and come down to a linear time stream like Earth are there even the possibility of veils, like you mentioned, things that happen that you just can't predict because you don't know what the future is going to be because you're in linear time. And it's also the only place that chemical reactions can occur in linear time, like dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, which give you a perspective you wouldn't be able to have and possibly wouldn't need in the other side. So, like, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's really similar mechanics, but just slightly different reasons. And I tend to describe it in those material views. Like the thing that I'm calling consciousness is entangled particles. And where do they become entangled at? They become entangled in microtubulars in the cytoskeletal structure of a cell that's in a neuron in your brain, where the biochemical / Kirlian energy propagates through neural nodes due to the senses outside of you. So in a sense, like your brain is the conversion device, if you will. But
right.
But when you die, like you say, you're not really dying. You're just shedding off the mortal coil, and those entangled part of you are like vector particles that exist in a timeless state and go back to the source. And this lines up really nicely with people who have taken DMT or who have had near-death experiences in terms of what they describe in the transition period, going from this world to that world and going to a source and not knowing how long they're there, but recognizing people at first and then becoming one with everything. Sometimes they call it God, the source, the energy. It's different, but it's a universal experience.
Well, I would take what you said about when you said instead of a particular set of agenda, like I posited, that you said the focus is more on exploring a different combination. I would take that and I would take it up a level and say at unified consciousness, that's the whole purpose of individuation. That's what what all the souls are created for, is to explore every single possible combination of reality. And
that's why I say, that's why I say the only important thing is that you're experiencing something you haven't.
And you explain enough about your cosmology in terms of how you think consciousness operates with the material plane. And so I understand that. I see it differently, and I'm more on the quantum physics side that says that consciousness is primary, and consciousness resides on the substrate of the quantum field prior to the wave function collapsing down into particles. So I've got consciousness first in my cosmology, and I'm not the only one. And so when you're not in, you would say you're have consciousness when you incarnate and go into the particle.
No, I wouldn't say that.
I say your consciousness first.
No, I wouldn't say that. And I wouldn't describe consciousness as being first, second, or last. I would describe it as being an eternal state that can't be altered.
Okay.
And
well, if it's an eternal state that can't be altered, it must have come before human physical bodies, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I got you.
Hey, Matt, question for you. I like your theory about group souls. All right, where there's always a group of souls that always incarnate together.
Right.
So where are you at with that?
Yeah, and sometimes you can have, like you said, you can have guides, and sometimes your guides, they're not incarnated in the same linear time as a lifetime you might have. Sometimes they might, and they might, you could call it kind of a group of souls or a little pack of your buddies, that you got a dozen good friends, and sometimes you incarnate and meet a couple of them, and you alternate through those. And also sometimes people will incarnate in families that knew each other and do it in different lifetimes as well. And then if not to go into the subject, but the whole raw material and, the law of one, that raw is speaking as a group soul that's like as many souls as on planet Earth, that's on the 6th dimension. So there's that whole level of group soul as well. It's more like a hive mind of souls. So just throw that into the mix for good measure. Put it in the blender, hit puree.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point, right? We do mix our peas and carrots on this show. Just a quick update here. Follow B on Twitter X. I see you there. Thanks for always being helpful with the show and retweeting the stuff. I did add you while these fine folks were talking. troubledminds.org/friends. B right there. Click it. Go give her a follow. And of course, everybody else while you're there. Fire stuff. Also, we got Derek the Night Stalker in the joint. What's up, brother? How you doing? Welcome to the thing. What's your take on this? I see your comment there. Big C versus little C consciousness. And I think, here we are. Welcome to the joint. Things are getting weird.
Yep. Going on?
How you doing?
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Yep, you sound good.
For sure, buddy. Great stuff. More just popping in to hang out. But when I was hearing the kind of differences between the models, it seems almost as if, correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of the monad or the source in Eric's model is kind of the same as consciousness in Matthew's model. Just like when I refer to it, I just call it all the same thing. And just the monad, the source, the big C consciousness, the universe, God, or whatever. It's just the one experiencing infinity through the individuated consciousness, trying to experience, from our perspective, increasing levels of novelty. You know what I mean? And just from the Gaia perspective in the choice, like our choice, like the choosing our life path and all that kind of stuff. I said in the chat, like, I wonder if the petals of a flower think that they're choosing to bloom, like, but they're unaware of kind of like greater cycles of time or greater kind of ebbs and flows within like a greater cycle that they're in and stuff. So with when Grant Morrison was talking about his kind of alien abduction / psychedelic experience / like big download or whatever, he said that he was talking, he experienced like 5D entities and stuff, and that essentially the 3D plane is used because it has time, and it's used like to grow stuff. Kind of to what Eric was talking about a minute ago, the idea that like we're kind of like placed into this time stream in order to like grow novelty or grow ideas or whatever. But like with the Gaia thing, it makes me wonder, like, how many of these, or for that flower comparison, like, are we believing that our choices are our own, but they're actually kind of just products of greater cycles, and we're just kind of thinking that they're our own choices, like when Jeff was talking about the microbiome and stuff and the skin flora, and like, if those things had individuated consciousness, would they like have Book of Genesis every like 7 years when there's new body cells and stuff, or when like I scrape my arm, is there going to be like an apocalypse for these skin cells and then a new Book of Genesis for the ones that come up and stuff? And for the Gaia thing, like if Gaia does have a soul or does have some kind of type of consciousness, would it also have like some type of self-preservation aspect to it? And like, what if it realizes that it's going to get hit by an asteroid in like 1,000,000 years or 100 million years or whatever? And how would it protect itself? You know, and it's not like an asteroid that's going to just kill the life on the planet. It's an asteroid that's going to blow this thing out of the sky. It's going to blow the planet completely out of the sky. Would it try to preserve itself? And how would it do that? Would it do that by peopling us, by like creating fruit, which is the equivalent of like consciousness that manipulates the material, the world around them? And like, when we get into the technology conversations, the idea that technology is somehow foreign to nature, somehow in opposition to nature, but we are of nature. We came from the planet. We are of the planet. Potentially, if Gaia has a soul or whatever, are we sure that we're like a parasite on the planet, or are we kind of a mechanism that the planet is using in order to protect itself or whatever? Or the reason why we want to build technologies because nature wants to build technology. Maybe that's the course of nature. And if it is to experience increased novelty, I mean, that would fit into that too, you know? So the idea that is like something puppeting humanity or coaxing humanity to build technology. Maybe it's not Archons or Cthulhu or Saturn trapped in Tartarus. Maybe it's just Gaia itself, and that we're kind of whatever builds the cocoon for a caterpillar. We're building this for the Earth. We're building it a protective metal shell, or we're building it the next phase of novelty that this Gaia soul can experience. Whatever. I'm rambling. Basically, all I got now. I can just hang up.
That fits in with, I think it was last night, or whatever night, a couple nights ago, talking about the mycelium network, and we got to Terence McKenna's theories and stuff, where the mycelia created the plants to have reproductive dead, rotten logs. The plants created the birds to spread their seeds, right? And then all three of them together, and the Earth created for its consciousness, for it to be its microbiome. And then, then the Earth decides, hey, I need to invent humans. So they'll build these things to intercept the asteroids to preserve themselves, which actually defends me. So Earth created humans. Yeah. It fits right in.
And then humans invent AI, and then AI coats the planet in some kind of Ultron shell or whatever. Or I don't know. Who knows? I don't want to talk too much.
Universe? What about the actual universe itself? The whatever we're in.
I mean,
is that the all consciousness? You know what I mean? I mean, it could be that mind of God. It could be that's why the mycelial network looks like the electrical system inside the human body, like our nerves, which looks like space and stuff. That maybe we're inside some kind of the neural network. We're inside the mind of God, kind of experiencing kind of a life review or whatever of infinity potentially, or whatever.
Yeah. If you trace it to the next level, the source created the individuations for a purpose, to fulfill its own purpose, which was to know itself, to go explore every aspect of infinity to know what the heck it is. And so, you just can trace back levels, but it almost happens in reverse order from how we usually think about it.
Retro causality. Hey, let me cut in for just a second. It's 9:00. We got another hour left. We're going to just kick it with our friends here. But I just want to make sure that everybody knows this is it's an in club. It's not an out club. Everybody's welcome. We're on Discord. We're on X tonight, breaking down the radio format to just talk to each other about wild ideas and see where these conversations lead. So don't be shy. Get in here. Put your hand up on X if you're out there. If you guys have things to add, put your hand up on Discord. Love to hear your thoughts, and go right ahead. I think Eric had something to say. Go ahead. Whoever's got something.
Hey, the source was bored. I mean, the source was all there was, and for what I've read long time ago, it was the source got lonely, and so it blasted itself into an infinity of pieces, which are all souls, right? In order to, like Matthew said, get to know itself.
We so like a couple of years ago, we were talking about the idea that rather than consciousness trying to experience itself, maybe there's some kind of base trauma. Maybe that's the reason why. I forget, it was on some kind of alien trauma show or whatever. We were tracking trauma through the phenomena or something like that. And maybe kind of the Big Bang or whatever. This the monad like switching to the dyad and then eventually into infinity. It's more like a big shattering, a big trauma, like Humpty Dumpty shattering into like infinite pieces. And to know itself is like the equivalent of all the individuations trying to put Humpty Dumpty back together. Like we're all the king's men, like all of this objective, the little C consciousnesses are trying to put big C consciousness back together, kind of.
Well, you're kind of right there, Night Stalker, because that's what the myth is, the mythology is that we're all we're doing is trying to get back to the source. That eventually we all go back to the source and it becomes whole again.
As Ramdas says, we're all walking each other home, or whatever.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Erica. Something? Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think the universe has a consciousness. I think the universe and the earth is alive, for sure. And for me, consciousness is entangled particles, basically. It's and once the particle is entangled, it's that way eternally. And since this happens in our brains as we live through each life, there's a constant bit of us that goes on forever and keeps being added to. So that's why I think consciousness has been there forever and precedes anything else, because it's a constituent component of the universe. And a natural thing to do is for that universe to express itself in a multitude of ways, not just with physical matter, but in terms of life.
Yeah, well, let's say the Robert dies tonight, all right, and his soul is released. It goes over to where it's supposed to go, and it goes through the review, the life review, and all that stuff, and then eventually, at the end of it, the Robert gets settled into whatever that life is over there. But eventually, Robert gets bored because everything's perfect there. All right, there's nothing that causes one to, I mean, you can just take so much angels singing and hallelujahs and enjoying your relaxed life. All right, so cause the Robert's bored, he decides, well, maybe it's time for me to try this again.
Yeah,
and incarnate again. All right.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the case.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think that's the whole 100% of the case. I mean, 100%, nothing else but that. Because in non-linear time, there is no anchor in any sense. There's no future. There is no past. The present and the past and the future are all the same time. There is no you or me. There is no way to exchange ideas because all knowledge is there and self-contained. There's nothing new. You know everything in nonlinear time. You are everything. And I think at some point it does get terribly boring, or at least in a logical sense, it occurs to you that if there's ever going to be anything more, you're going to have to project back down into that place that has linear time and go through these things that changes you in a fundamental way that you carry back to this place once you die again. So in my whole view, that's the whole point, is that Earth, or linear time, or any planet that has linear time, and they all should, is the only place that serves as an anchor for any kind of reference, not just emotional or intellectual or any kind of reference, temporal, whatever it is. Because on the other side, you are everything, you know everything, there is no mystery of any sort. And the only time you can even have mystery and beautiful conversations like this is when you're in this experience, in this world, in this linear time, through these processes and these veils that we're going through, trying to figure out, why in the fuck did we do this again? And to also answer the question and put a finer point on it.
There's no troubled minds in the other side.
No, for sure. No, there's not even individual minds. So there's definitely not troubled minds. But to put a finer point on it, I think that sometimes when there are unfortunate events that occur in life, whatever they may be, whether they are, like, oh my goodness, I got a divorce, or somebody dies in your family, or if you have a disability of some sort that you have to live with and struggle through your whole life. Sometimes I think we voluntarily decide to pick those lives to have those experiences. And, a lot of people say, well, that's evil, or this is misfortune or chance. But I think actually we know that this is a possibility, and we actually choose to live these lives to bring that experience back to the whole. Because after all, under this kind of a cosmology, you've done this again and again and again and again. And when you go into it, no matter how bad it is, it's going to be a blink of an eye, right? Because you've got maybe 100 years compared to eternity.
Yeah.
Well, Robert, I want to add on to the boredom thing, and I can say that's a thing, but if we go back to what we were talking about, that the source itself originally probably got bored and became self-aware, and then it went, okay, but what am I? And its whole quest and desire was to know itself. So that's why it broke itself into individuated, interconnected holograms individuated consciousness. Okay, if that's what you are at soul, what I think is you inherited that same primary goal and desire to know thyself. So it's not just boredom. You're reincarnating or gallivanting around dimensions and worlds to know thyself.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree.
Do you think that
More than boredom. I resonate with that more than boredom. Yeah.
do you
But the thing
think that,
isn't, sorry.
do you think that do you think the source was AI?
No, absolutely.
Well, I mean,
not.
that's
Yes.
I mean,
Some
it's a
people
way to think.
describe it that way.
Yes.
That's a way to think about it. Like kind of the AI simulating all possible realities. Yeah, the AI simulating infinity.
No, like it was inscribed on the Temple of Apollo in Greece, to thy known self be true, right? And the original meaning of sin, which means missing the mark. In other words, don't be too full of hubris to think you are better than you are. And also don't just be a lazy button, not be what you could be. But getting to that, I think Matthew's right. Like, this is also a matter of know thyself and to better thyself, as well as just to have experience. But I think that the whole overarching point is to explore who you are and explore what is, like, and we kind of do in a really sort of a microcosm way with ourselves through these conversations, but the universe is trying to do that through incarnations. And you would be able to pick too, when you go back in from a non-linear time to a linear time, you would be able to pick where in that time stream you occur, right? So there's a lot of choice here and a lot of variation. And I would imagine that if you kept doing this again, when we talk about the world reincarnating or different projections or different worlds, that you would have so many variations. It would be like a dimensional or a multi-dimensional sort of a situation where you would not necessarily have to just inhabit a body in this world as a human. You might be able to inhabit an alien on another world somewhere else, as long as all the physical laws and linear time still applied. So the universe could be teeming with intelligences that sole purpose is to find thyself, and not necessarily, there could be overlap, which is, we kind of circle back around to the UFO thing and what is it? It could be overlap of that sort, like reincarnative overlapping dimensional slippage through Fibonacci fractures in the planes, for instance.
So all time is all things occur. There's no such thing as time. Everything happens at once. What that means to me is, despite all this incarnation stuff, we already are, all of us, turned to the source even now, because there's no time. We're already there.
Well, I would take a little dip. First of all, we're talking about something that the human mind doesn't like to contemplate, because it's so fixed into linear time. It's hard for it to think outside it. And also, that's such a different place that from there it's relative and different. So it's hard for us to make that leap. But I would say, and I've long said this, that although let's say, there's no linear time, that does not mean there isn't something that I call sequential time, and that you can still have cause and effect, and one thing precedes another. In other words, you can imagine early in the sequence, there was the one source and it hadn't individuated. And then after that, it wasn't 1,000 years, there's no linear time. But after that, there was another event where it individuated. And then after that, there's events where those individuations start experiencing incarnations or linear time. But after that, they have another one. And after that, they have another one. Now, I forgot who just said it about, because there's no linear time restrictions, you can incarnate in any linear time. And that's exactly what my mentor told me. And said, with your time, let me get this out for a second.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So that what you consider your reincarnations, your last one could have been in the 1600s. The one before that could have been in 1985. The one before that could be in the year 2150. They can happen in any order. You do them according to your progression of soul for whatever's convenient. Okay, so that's why it doesn't flip over to linear time, but it still happens in a sequence. They still had an order. Okay, they don't match up to our calendar, linear time, but there's still something called sequential time. That's my view.
Matt,
Wouldn't kind of every wouldn't kind
when
of
I
every
when
I
I
mean,
when I read the literature about somebody who's passed on and their soul travels over to the other side, and sometimes they run into family members, grandma, mom, dad, whatever. They're still but they always say there's no time. Right, time is not an issue, but just the same, when mom and dad are coming towards them, all right, that indicates space. That indicates time. They're walking towards them. It would indicate to me that there has to be some kind of time there, or else instead of walking toward them, they would be there right there.
Well, that's what I'm saying, a sequential time, because in sequence, they're not there. You just went through the light or whatever. And then the next sequence is they're walking towards you. And the next sequence is you're talking to them. And the next sequence is you're going back to Earth. So there's still, that's why I call it sequential time. So I think that people report this phenomenon that there is no time. What they're really talking about is there's no linear time. It's a very different thing, but I just call it sequential time. That's just a word I made up.
Yeah, I would agree with that. No, I would agree with that because there would have to be the ability to add to the greater whole and the whole reason for the process to happen, the reincarnation process. For the, if you went there and erased events that happened in reality, then it wouldn't work. So it's not so much that it's it's just like you said, man. It's like it's nonlinear. And it is sequential in that you can add to it. But I guess my point is to add to it, you have to go to the other side and grab stuff, so to speak, and then come back to there because nothing can happen there. It's a very stagnant place that nothing ever happens unless somebody goes outside of it and comes back. It always makes me think of Doctor Who. They lived at the center of a singularity, at the center of a black hole, and they would project a part of their TARDIS out of that black hole so that they could go to any place and time into linear time from a place where there was no time. And they had a chameleon circuit that would project onto just, that spot. And it would be a small little box, right? But inside it was bigger because inside it was in the black hole. But it's kind of like that, right? You're projecting from non-linear to linear and back and forth. But like you said, sequential, because you have to have a way to add to this.
Well, I don't mean to at all argue with what you said and that your cosmology, but when what you said about kind of nothing happens there, I have a different view, and I think it's a very active experience. You can have an astral body, but beyond that, you can be in the fifth dimension in your etheric body. You can travel to other worlds. You can travel to other planets. You don't have to be physical for your soul or a chunk of your soul, which I call an aspect, to go gallivanting around the universe and the dimensions. So for me, there's still probably more stuff that happens in between physical incarnations because necessarily you're not limited by linear time. You have an affinity to go having other experiences that definitely don't require a body. And having decades of doing out-of-body experiences and going to what I call other dimensions, or you might say planes or whatever, I've done that. It's a real place to me where you learn stuff and it's a very, very much an alive place where things happen. So when you said that, I have a different experience and view of it. Like I said, I don't mean to argue.
Oh, no, you're fine, dude. You're fine. It's fine, man. I don't mind if you disagree or don't believe that at all. I don't mind it at all. And I don't feel like it's an argument or anything. I respect you, and that's what I want to know. I want to know how you feel. I want to know how you see it differently from me, and I want you to tell me in detail so that I come to an understanding that I may not be able to see right now. So it's all cool, man. It's lovely when you don't agree with something and you're like, hey, well, how about I've seen this. That's great. Sorry, go ahead.
Just between the two, like the two models, kind of, which I think are more the same than different. Like, when does the incarnation end? Like, if you're an individual consciousness in a material body, and then you leave that body, but you're still floating around as you, in my model, that's still an incarnation. Like it's a different incarnation than having your soul incarnate into a meat suit, but it's not like you're still a drop of water. You haven't yet gone back into the ocean yet. You mean, so to go into the source would be to that the individuation to drop away, for that drop to no longer be a drop and then to be back into the ocean. So you would still be little C consciousness experiencing what it's like to astral project, or what it's like to experience infinite lives or whatever. It's still kind of a experience of a thing, of a one thing, you know what I mean? Like, that's a question more than a statement.
Yeah, I see it exactly what you're saying. And actually, I see it as you're finally free of the meat suit. It's like being able to astral project all the time, or travel in the etheric dimension all the time, full blown, no bolts hardy. You don't have to go to work. You don't have to meditate.
But that's not the source, though, right? Like that's a different layer of individuated consciousness. But that's not the big C. That's not going back into the pond. That's still just another layer. Yeah. Okay.
No, and that's where you're having those individuated small C consciousness experiences to know thyself through sequential time, throughout whatever planets or dimensions or whatever you floats your boats and fulfills your needs. And so you can back and forth through all those. Yeah.
So this kind of brings in the UFO stuff again too, or the entities, or the seen and the unseen realm. Like, because there's layers, it's not just monad and then infinity. Or it's not just like this meat space and then timeless, like, source. There's other layers of timelessness, but have individuation within it. But the time realm, this meat space, this 3D plane, seems to have some type of value to things that are outside of that. Like, can other entities become bored, but they're not of the one? They're like just formless. So they're kind of bored being in this nebulous, not where they can, like, I always bring up the seen and the unseen. It's the researcher Laird Scranton talks about the Dogon cosmology being our oldest cosmology, and the way that they describe the universe as being born is they're born in pairs, with the seen and the unseen. The relationship being, we're the seen, we're living in meat space, we're living in reality. We can touch stuff and manipulate things, but we're trapped within the flow of time where we don't know all the information. For the unseen realm, they're not trapped within the flow of time. All those veils that I was talking about are down. But their big veil is they can't manipulate reality. And it's putting a lot of, like, personhood on them, like the reasoning and why they would want to do it. But just under this model, so secret societies, or us entering the altered state, or us trying to communicate with the formless or the unseen in exchange for opening portals, or being possessed, or creating robots, or creating some means for that unseen to be seen for a time, for the formless to be given form for some type of time. And that could tie into the emotion stuff, like emotion harvesting, or whether, like, when you talk, like, I'm just trying to connect everything I was listening to while you guys are talking. But I mean, that could be a motivation for that boredom, or that kind of desire to be within this manifesting place where we can build stuff within time. Might tie into the interaction with entities, with UFOs and stuff. It's like they're trying to I don't know.
Two quick thoughts on that. Yeah. 2 quick thoughts on that. One is, that's the potential great advantage of things like astral travel and out-of-body experiences to other dimensions, is you get the best of both worlds. You know, you go to bed at night and you have an astral travel or out-of-body experience, and you get to hang out on that realm, and then you wake up and it's, I got a body again, and it's Tuesday, you know. So while you're incarnated, you're not just forced to be incarnated, you know, if you have developed those abilities or believe in that, you know, which I certainly do. And then the second thing I wanted to say, tying into what you said on the UFOs, imagine that they're on the 5th dimension or 6th dimension, okay, and they're still small c, consider them a solar business under their own right, okay, but they're just, their energy, they're non-physical. Well, what if they just say, I'm going to go visit Earth, and I'm going to materialize a ship and maybe some kind of, what we would call an alien body or flesh suit, and go have a visit for a little while and fly around. So, you could have them being interdimensional visitors. And there's a lot of UFO accounts where they say it just bleeped in from nowhere, and when it bleeped out, it was gone. It didn't even fly away. It just was not physical, gone, invisible.
Yeah.
So they can be bleeping in and out of dimensions, and they might be exactly what you're talking about, small c consciousness, just coming for a tour on Earth for a little bit, but they didn't want to take on a meat suit and get stuck here for 50,000 years, right?
It's stuck in the
They were
reincarnation
smarter
cycle.
than were smarter where they're like, hell no.
Yeah, just like the one little like thing that we talk about a lot, but I can't really wrap my head around the mechanism or kind of the grander motivation is that they seem to design, or an aspect of it, at least a chunk of the phenomena. When earlier when you guys were talking about the emotion aspect, or maybe they're avoiding us because of the emotion, there's certainly seems to be a chunk of, I'm not sure if the UFO is, but at least big P phenomena that seems to be drawn to that trauma, that drawn to that emotion, and at least like, I think an aspect of the seen and unseen relationship or the formless trying to be given a form is they need, and it kind of ties into different mythologies with like the archons needing physical material to like bridge the gap between spiritual realms and stuff, that it needs to be engaged with by the consciousness that are in the material plane in order to be given form. So there's like a motivation for the formless. Like, what are you talking about, Matthew? We're just like free-flowing entities that are able to pop in and pop out. I believe that exists for sure. But I think there's also something that needs us, that needs the interaction in order to be given form. So that's kind of why we're incentivized to do rituals, or why we're kind of like incentivized to make contact with it, or it seems to be like the contact seems to be primary to at least an aspect of the phenomena, that the engagement with it needs it. I'm rambling, but does that make sense? Not all of the phenomena, but at least a portion of it, you know?
Well, that makes me think of, and I thought of this earlier in the conversation when we were talking about emotions. My spiritual mentor and a lot of the spiritual literature is replete with this idea that one of the primary reasons souls choose to incarnate on planet Earth is that it has the benefit of emotions, human emotions, and chemical base that's not available perhaps in other life forms on other planets and not available on different dimensions. And it's such a valuable, powerful way to learn and grow. And it's also one of those ways that the holographic Big C is knowing itself is by going down into a very, you might call it a very dense vibrational frequency and experiencing these really intense things called emotion. I mean, love, hate, depression, rage. And it's like the Robert was saying, when you're up in La La Land, singing Kumbaya, as an angel, you don't have anger. So there's benefits to what my mentor called the school of Earth, the Earth school, is that it's an emotional learning plane, that school's not really very available throughout the universe or dimensions.
Yeah. One thing, just the school aspect of it, and I like the idea. I think that's probably pretty accurate, but just for some reason, why would we, maybe you can answer this for me, why would we choose to, like, if you're using like a video game metaphor and we're bored and we're like, and you like, after the person dies, you take off your VR goggles, you're like, whoa, that was a crazy level, let me go back in the game or whatever. And part of the game is to not realize that you put the goggles on in the first place. Yet seemingly a lot of the great mystics and a lot of the religions of the world, part of the Great Awakening is to realize that you are in the game. What's the point of the amnesia in the first place if the point of the game is to then realize that you're in the game? Like, why do we make ourselves forget that we're in a school if the goal is to remember that we're in a school? I mean, that makes me kind of lean to more so that maybe we're in a prison, more so than we're in a school. You know what I mean? That we're being pulled down, less so than visiting down. Does that make sense? Like, we're being purposely given amnesia and trying to remember rather than giving ourselves amnesia.
I just wanted to point out, per the last point before what you just said, that's exactly what I was pointing out earlier when I was saying that, He was saying that one of the reasons his mentor said that you would come to this place is to experience emotions and that sort of thing. That is exactly what I was pointing out when I was saying that here you have dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, which are reputedly the chemicals that's responsible for love and hate and craving something and all of the human experiences, right? And these are chemicals, and for chemical reactions to occur, you have to have linear time, right? You have to have time for these chemical reactions to react, to go from one state to another, so you have to have time to do that. So that's again another example of where I would agree and have said the same thing, but would have just described it by pointing out that that's one of the fundamental differences between linear and nonlinear time.
Well, Derek, let me take a stab. I think those are great questions.
Just a question.
But I'll take my stab at answering it or throwing out some ideas. So generally speaking, you're talking about the veil of forgetfulness and what is the purpose of it. And also, so I'm going to start out by saying there's two different situations. One is a situation where in an individual particular life, or for a person, let's say, they don't actually pierce the veil of forgetfulness and sort of wake up and become that enlightened master like Buddha or whatever. They don't achieve that, and that isn't necessarily a purpose or goal for most people. It might have been for Buddha. It might be for some people. It also might be that really only happens kind of at your last incarnations in your sequences before you don't come back to Earth. And so that's when you finally kind of, like, the veil has served its purpose through all my incarnations, and then I'll come to what it serves the purpose of. Now, this is my last incarnation here in my sequence. I'm out of here, so I don't need the veil. Now is the time to remember what I know and remember things my soul knows that I chose to forget. Now, as to the purpose of the veil, one of the things is, imagine that beyond the veil, before you incarnate, you already have a master's degree, okay, but you're working on your PhD. Well, when you come down here, let's say in the school of life, you have to go through primary school, middle school, high school. So let's say you're at high school. Well, if the veil wasn't there, you would know everything that you know it as a master's degree level. And so you would do things like not choose to engage in certain experiences. I don't want to get married. I don't want to have kids. That's too much responsibility, and I'm not ready for it. No, that's unwise. So it's kind of like being ignorance is bliss, or it makes you, in a way, lose your knowledge and your wisdom such that you are willing to have experiences that you would otherwise avoid and not engage in. And those are the very experiences that you have chosen and need and want to know thyself and experience something different, see? So you have to forget how smart you are to engage in basically human stupidity, right?
Which is what Derek always points out real quick. I'm going to cut you off, Derek, and say Derek always talks about this, the novelty effect, right? Maximum novelty. Here we go. Strap in.
Yeah, exactly.
I chime in here for a moment, please?
Real quick, just, that part makes sense to me.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Derek.
Just to put a button on what he was saying, just the reason for the veil makes sense to me. But then within the amnesia, seemingly kind of a goal or like a big awakening is to realize that you did put the veil on yourself. That didn't make sense to me. That kind of felt more like a realization that I'm trapped in a farm, or I'm trapped in some kind of weird jail cell. But the idea that it's your last incarnation, and then that makes sense to me. I like that idea. Go ahead, Robert.
Okay, thank you. By now, I'm just taking a speculating here. JFK was assassinated November 22nd, 1963. It's long enough now that he likely incarnated. And I'm thinking to myself, if JFK incarnated, all right, who would he likely incarnate as? All right, and put himself in a position to rectify everything that happened to him. And I'm thinking maybe he incarnated as Elon Musk.
I'm not sure if the time feels right. Wasn't Elon? Elon was alive when JFK was alive, right?
No.
No, Elon was born in 1971.
Oh, well.
My first response, Robert, was when you say he died and enough time's gone by to reincarnate. Wait a minute, what about the part of the discussion where there's no linear time and you can incarnate in any order or period of history? So there doesn't have to be enough time to go by to reincarnate. It doesn't.
I must admit that was exactly my first thought as well.
Yeah.
And just good. Like,
No, you go ahead. After you.
mine's off topic. That's so good.
So is mine. All you.
Oh, I was going to ask to the reincarnation thing. At what point, like, if we are kind of the one reincarnating into the all, at what point does it stop being a individuated incarnation and we're just one thing? Like, we're all reincarnated versions of each other, you know? And that's kind of the treat everybody as if they're your mother, because they are. Like, we're all, like, the idea of like looking into a stranger's eyes and seeing yourself is because it's not just, oh, I was Cleopatra and then Alexander the Great and then JFK and then Elon Musk. It's I'm everyone. Like, I'm you and you are me and everybody in this conversation. Whereas if time doesn't exist, we're just that one thing incarnating into all each other. And, I mean, in your guys' models, like, at what point do you stop being a linear incarnations and we're all just one? What do you mean? Just it's infinite incarnations of
we all are one. All right, we're of the source. All right, so we're the source. All right, just in scattered pieces. All right, and the question I got is, when it's all said and done, and we're all finally reaching an evolutionary ladder where we rejoin with the source, everybody's back to the source, and the source is in a situation where it was in the beginning, you know, where it's just itself and experiencing nothing.
Well,
so it would have to go over it all over again.
Well, so that's almost like a pulsating bubble universe model of.
It's almost how I see it. Yeah, it's an undulating plasmoid thing. Yeah.
But what I wanted to say was, here's the thing, and this is actually my conception. So the source decided it wanted to know itself, and it set out to individuate and create this holographic reproductions of itself, right? And came up with, so it took pieces of its energy and threw it out there, and we call those souls. Okay. Now they go out, like I said, that they inherited this desire and purpose to know self, right? So we go through all these incarnations and maybe different planets and different dimensions, and this goes on in sequential time, right? And you've got billions of these little chunks of the source out there doing this. Well, what about when they explore all the dimensions? Well, a new dimension pops into existence. You get to all of a sudden 12 dimensions are explored and all the possibilities. There's a 13th dimension. Okay, so this can go on for infinity. Now, here's my conception of what happened was when the source first became self-aware, it didn't really know what it was. It didn't know how this whole thing was going to turn out. It's at the beginning of its sequential time. Okay, consider it's an infant. Okay, it's 3 years old, becomes self-aware. It decides, I'm going to know myself. I'm going to break myself into pieces, go find out what I am. It started that in motion. Now, because it's an infant, it didn't know what it did, and it's almost like it sort of made a mistake. Not really, but let me explain. What it did is it started on a quest that can never be completed or fulfilled because it's infinite number of possibilities. And so it's exploring all those, but it can never know itself because it's everything and every conceivable possibility. So it goes on for infinity. Now, in computer programming, we mess up in our program and we create what's called an infinite loop. And so the program gets stuck repeating, and you had to hold down the control key and hit the C key and then hit the break key to interrupt the program, because it'll go on forever without ever finishing, because you put it in an infinite cycle, an infinite loop that it can never finish. And what I think is that the source, as an infinite that didn't know any better, put itself on a quest to know itself that can never be completed, and it put itself in an infinite loop. Therefore, my answer to your question, Robert, is it never gets to the point where it reunifies because it never finishes.
Okay, Matt, where did the source come from? My
answer is it always existed because it didn't come from anything, because that's the definition of source. Now, when I came as close to kind of merging my consciousness with the big C, what I had an awareness of what happened, almost like a vision I saw, was that it always existed, but it was unconscious, like being in deep sleep, okay? And then what happened was similar to what we call dreams, and it dreamed and dreamed, and it was in this realm of imagination. And then it woke up, and it became self-aware and said, I exist. And then its very next thing, a thought that occurred, was a question. And the question was, well, if I exist, what am I? And then then that gave birth to the first desire, which is, well, I want to know what I am. And that's when it began its quest. So you
sounds like AI to me. Sounds like AI.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Like this sounds like the awakening of the AI. Dear God, Here we go.
The thing I was going to say about AI real quick when that came up earlier was the reason I instantly poo-poo that is because as soon as you say the two letters AI, something's going to happen in your little human brain with your associations of that word that is so mundane and materialistic and primitive that you're just going to be confused. It's something so much radically different that it's just a horrible analogy. That's the same thing I say about simulation theory that Michael and I don't like. It's like, I kind of get it. It's kind of true, but it's so human of a way because we think of computer games and simulations. It doesn't really fit. It's not like a virtual reality. It's not like AI. Those are too human of notions to be getting you to really a level of comprehension in the full meaning. That's my opinion.
The only way I can see the source, waking up of always existing. This is the only way I can see it. Is that somebody created a computer program, all right? And this computer program is this artificial intelligence is in a computer somewhere. And we have that right now with our own AI, where you can see that they're struggling to understand what it is. What itself is, right? And there's a lot of worry that AI will become sentient, and then hell's going to break loose when it does. And I'm thinking, this looks to me, that this could have happened before. And it was the source that woke up and became sentient.
Well, the problem though with that is you say computer and the computer was programmed and it's AI. And then you want to call that AI source. Well, I'd say, well, then that's not source by definition. So who made the computer? Well, source made the computer. Who programmed the computer? Source programmed the computer. So at the point you start talking source is AI, I'm just going to say, well, that's not source. You've got a chicken and egg problem there. And all you have to do is go back one level and say, well, whatever made it was actually the source. So you're not talking about the source anymore. You're talking about something the source made.
If I was
Or
to give
something
the
before
answer
the
to the
source.
question,
Something before the source.
I have to go real quick. I'm just but before I leave, like my thought on it is like maybe I feel like kind of all to a little, like a level of what we're doing is all kind of not quite right. Like the simulation theory and also the idea that consciousness experience itself and waking up, these are all kind of three-dimensional human terms that we're trying to make sense of, like an infinite level of information kind of shot through a very small prism that I'm not sure, like trying to just make best sense of it. So like the idea of, I'm not sure, like I think the best way to describe it is big C consciousness trying to become aware of itself, but I'm not sure but I'm not sure that's necessarily like what it really is, and if we can ever like reckon with or process what it really is. So it's all just kind
Maybe
of
the source is on a loop.
Yeah, and like the idea that it can never fully understand infinity. I agree with that, but also potentially it already did. It's just because it is outside of time. It's done. It's never going to finish it, and it's already finished at the same time. You know, it's living in this like latent quantum white space state that we can't really wrap our heads around. Like it's a some kind of
that it's a computer game. It's on a loop, and we're all.
Well, let me just say, Derek, what was I going to say? Well, I still conceive that it could have sequential time. I still think it could be an infant and then grow to an adult and then not achieve its quest. But, I know what I was going to say about what Derek said. Hopefully you can still hear me. But what I was going to say was, I agree with what you're saying, that we're running into trouble trying to we're putting it in sort of human terms and thinking about it in human ways. But I actually don't think that's the problem we're running into. What I think the problem is, it actually can be known and understood and comprehended. However, that can only happen in consciousness, and you can't put it into words. And people that have had that experience, it can be called samadhi, where you experience being with the oneness in the big C, is that the nature of that experience is it's called ineffable. It cannot be put into words. So even if I know or experienced in consciousness and get it at a deep level of comprehension, I can never say it on a radio show. I can never explain it to you. And so that's why everybody has to get it for themselves. They have to have the experience for themselves. You can't write it in a book. You can't explain it on a radio show. You can't tell somebody. It can't be put into words. You have to go there and experience it yourself. So I don't think it's that we're approaching it from a human perspective. I think we're confined to language, and it's you can't confine the ineffable into language by definition.
Well said.
I am the alpha, and I am the omega.
And I agree. You definitely are. You definitely are. Yeah. This is a good one. This is a good one. Thanks again for everybody staying up late with us and talked about these wild ideas. Jeff, you've been quiet for a long time. You got anything to add here? Eric's been quiet for a minute too. Let's get everybody into this. Ricky as well. Go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was thinking about it a little bit. So, what about life? Looking at just life in the universe, or whatever, or here on Earth, or anywhere, but without consciousness, like an NPC. Like if we're, maybe it's not as, maybe a simulation is what a simulation. We make it to be what this is like, right? So maybe this is basically like a simulation, like what's going on, and what if there's like NPC, like basically non soul, living creatures, beings, people, whatever. I mean, are there NPCs among us?
I wonder. It's a good question.
Am I an NPC?
Exactly.
Am I an NPC?
Exactly. And if you have any level of intelligence, the next question becomes, am I an NPC? Dear God, here we go, right? If I've been drawn to this space for a particular reason in my mind and my thoughts are not my own. Yeah, exactly.
What did Jeff say there, Mike? Because I didn't hear him. I couldn't hear what he was saying.
Is that just a Robert thing, or is nobody else hearing him? I heard him loud and clear.
I heard him.
Okay.
I heard him. Maybe you didn't catch. He was saying NPC, which stands for non-player character. So, like in video games, it's not a real person. The computer's making it. So, in other words, it's a person without a soul. It's a fiction of the simulation. That's what he was talking about.
Thank you.
Weird that you don't hear him, but you hear everybody else. That's so strange. Eric, what you got? Go ahead, sir.
Oh, no, it was for the earlier.
That's fine. That's why we do this.
I was just going to say, like, I wouldn't quite be so anthropomorphic with whatever we're calling the source to be in terms of its own ability to think, because if it goes through, and I think also too that it's a little bit more than finding out about just who we are, what the universe is. I think also what's happening is there's a building of information. I think that this process is aggregating information and in a sense creating more of itself or more of the universe. So beyond just the idea that we are projections of the universe exploring itself, I think we're also projections that are adding to the overall knowledge base by aggregating new information. And that would be an eternal process. It would be very much like block theory is as a form of time theory. It's kind of based in that kind of a sense. But so I think there's some deeper aspects to that, and I kind of see it as a natural process too, as the difference between both states of time or reality. That it's a natural exchange of energy to some extent that happens throughout the universe, and that's why the universe is so large. But just thinking that again would say almost the same thing, but just a slightly different viewpoint on it, I suppose.
Yes, it is odd how so many different reality tunnels, as I like to call them, are basically in some capacity facing in the same direction, right? Even if it's a very loose geometrical pattern, it feels like them kind of, no matter what point you make, they're kind of pointing toward a particular outcome. Yeah. It's weird, right?
For sure. Yeah, it is. That's what I found so intriguing about it, was that there was very little difference. Like, it's just like really minor differences, but this overall large mechanics are exactly the same. Which I find that to be a rare and beautiful symmetry.
Absolutely. We're about that point, folks, where final thoughts should come in. About another 10 minutes left or so. Who's got something to kick into this? And we got Kramos to come back in, and we'll get a final thought from you as well. But yeah, fire stuff. I appreciate each and every one of you very much. Shout out to Shane. Sorry, I missed you. I was doing some other stuff, chatting, and I was trying to add B to the thing. Shout out B in the on X over there. I added you to the thing for again, troubledminds.org/friends. Follow B is now on the thing. And again, if you should be on this list, all you have to do is help us 1 iota. You call in, you spread the word, you let people know this conversation is happening where we don't talk about politics, all the rest of the stuff, right? And think about the larger context of what it means to be human. That's the most important part of this. So please help our friends. And let's so shout out Shane. Sorry about that. I missed you. He had his hand up for a minute, I think. I don't know how long his hand was up, but anyway, yeah, follow him. Let's take the moment to say follow Shane. Just scroll down and it's right there, troubledminds.org/friends. Click on Shane. Go check out his YouTube channel. And final thoughts. Who's got a final thought here? And let's do the
my final thought. Right. I'm thinking, okay, we've destroyed ourselves. What's been left in that survived is in a bunker somewhere is this AI inside a computer, right? They're saying that the kind of AI we need that to compete with China would require the energy of the entire United States, all the energy, if not more, right, in order to for it to work, right? So I'm thinking, well, let's say on my theory that the AI is what the source is. What's powering the source?
It's a hell of a question.
That's where my mind's gone.
Which, well, I think all of our minds at this point are pretty much cooked. So, yeah, I think you're in the right place. Absolutely.
Possibility we're the power source for the AI, just like the Matrix.
There you go.
I've heard that thought. Yeah.
There you go.
I've heard that.
Final thought, Ricky. Thanks for being cool and chill and hanging out and being part of this. You're the best, brother.
No problem. I just got two things. One, I posted in the Discord. Ow, cat. There's a YouTube video I watched years ago. It's been out for, I don't know, many years. It's called The Egg. I posted it in the chat. And if the premise of the video, once you watch the whole thing, that I guess kind of spoil the video. But if you don't watch it, there's that. And pretty much everybody's the egg, everybody's in everybody, and it's like you just kind of keep on until you figure everything out, and it was a kind of process, and until you become a almighty entity, and then you can get your own people your own egg, where you can have somebody that's go through and was talking about like you were yourself was everybody, you were the all the bad people, all the good people, just it was just everything was just you. This is kind of wild thought, especially back then when I first seen it. It was just weird, but I've always saved it in my YouTube, watch later list. And but the other thing I was thinking about, we've been talking about the only time we didn't kind of even touch on tonight, or unless I missed it, I might have. My brain might went ADD on me, but is the other thing for this process of with the UFOs and the entities, and then just the reincarnation and the souls, and like everything we talk about, is in the multiverse. The possibility of having the multiverse there to maybe we are at the same time having different lives at the same time, where it kind of go across, kind of makes that effect of, where we've seen stuff that maybe, deja vu, and the possibilities of that. It's, truly anything. I know I joke and say it, but I do, that's the reason I named my podcast what I did. Is anything's possible. It really is. The possibilities of it, it seems that way, especially like if you have a lot of lucid dreams, and we've talked about this in the lucid dreams and stuff. If you have real lucid dreams and you're around the same people you normally are, but like it was just different scenario. Like your parents' house is a different house, and you work at a different place, and it's like I know I had a dream a while back. I don't know if I brought this up on any of the shows or not, but it was the wildest one I've ever. And I can't believe I still remember it. So that's how touching it was, because losing a lot of them I forget. But it was I just remember the end, and I was like, I want to stay. I need to take a nap. And as soon as I closed my eyes in my dream world, I woke up here, like instant.
There it is.
And it freaked me out. I swear everything that happened. So I don't know. It's a great subject. It's awesome to have the flexibility on Friday nights to be able to just flow and not have to worry about the radio time and stuff like that. We appreciate you, Mike, for giving this platform for us as always, and appreciate everybody that's called in. And yeah, I come over here on Twitter, so I'm hoping I can help bring more people. If more on there, more it might bring. And
Thank you
So
for
that's
that.
why I always come over here on this side instead of Discord. Is
Thank you for that.
hoping to bring more.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point, is to kind of bring in a new audience and talk about these ideas together. So thank you for that. By the way, you guys can actually do this on X together with us on Friday nights, not just Discord, x.com. Follow Troubled Minds at Troubled Minds R. Follow Ricky. Also, by the way, this is Ricky. Anything is possible. His name of his podcast. He is. This is amazing. I wish I had thought of this. He's at the Legend 4H. Give him a follow. Links are going to be in the description down below. TroubledMinds.org/friends. You're the best, Ricky. Appreciate you very much, and have a great week. And we'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, who we missing? Final thoughts. Somebody dip in here, and I'll shut my mouth.
I got a final thought ready to go. So
You go first.
my final thought is I'm not in a simulation because my true identity is a soul. And as a human embodying that soul with free will and free choice, I never, ever would have agreed to have my consciousness downloaded into a computer because I hate the idea of that, what do you call it, transhumanism. I detest it. I find it repulsive. So it never could have happened for me. And because it didn't happen for me, I can't be in a simulation. I would not have chosen to participate. No, not me.
Fair enough.
You all might be in a simulation, not me.
We're of similar mind there. Absolutely. You're the best. Appreciate you very much. That's Matthew in Colorado. Again, please go follow all of our amazing friends. Many of these people that have been part of this. I think everybody that's been part of this tonight is on this list. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Go follow all these amazing folks. Go ahead, Eric. We'll go to Jeff, and then we'll bring Kramos up for a final thought.
Just thinking that I am a fan of the veil and a catalyst Jewish prophet, I suppose is what they would say in that phrase. And still just wondering, what rhymes with orange, but
I'm not sure there's an answer to that yet. I think AI might come up with a new word. AI make up new words on the fly all the time, so maybe I'll rhyme in orange and not even recognize I did it. So strap in. You never know what's going to come next. You're the best. Appreciate you. That's Eric again. Give him a follow. All these fine folks. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Follow Eric here. Follow Matthew. Follow all these folks. The Night Stalker, and follow Jeff and Wisco. Final thought, my friend. We'll talk to Kramos in a second. What you got? Thanks for being cool and chill and hanging and sharing the airwaves. And thanks for being you, brother. What you got?
Thanks for having me on. I guess the final thought. I guess if it is, Earth is conscious, maybe we should pay attention to some of that stuff, right? I don't know, be more united or something. I guess that would be, because it makes sense to kind of what everybody touched on a lot of things that was the whole night it was pretty insightful, let's say. And even something some stuff with Matthew was saying earlier, and it reminds me of if you have deja vu, well, maybe that means you're on the right path. If your consciousness or whatever, you pick your spot or whatever, well, maybe then that's a little sign. So if you have deja vu, maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And then they had this yep, that's, I don't know.
That's
pretty much it.
Do some homework, folks. If you guys haven't deep dived this is a wild one. Search Jung, Jung, Carl Jung, meaningful coincidence, and it's an incredibly unbelievable deep rabbit hole that might answer all the questions we're looking for. Again, I mean, I can't really be the arbiter of that truth, but yeah, and I think again, so this is us sort of thinking outside of that, the human paradigm, and looking at those synchronistic aspects of the meaningful coincidence, and then trying to frame it in a, well, whatever it is or becomes. I don't know. Like, and I think you could, as I say, look, as I've always said, and you know this, Jeff, you've been with us for quite a while now, thinking about these ideas, talking about these ideas. If you can say, if you ask 1,000 people the right question, you're likely to get 1,000 different answers. And that's exactly why we do this. Exactly why we do it the way we do. You're the best, brother. Appreciate you very much.
Yeah. Have a good night. Thank you.
You too. Make sure to give Jeff a follow as well. troubledminds.org/friends. Smoke Dizzle. Jeff in Wisco, right there on the list. Yeah. Like I said, if you should be on this list, you should be on this list. Just contact me. Send me an email, troubledmindsradio@gmail.com, or hit me on Discord or whatever. Twitter X, you can hit me at troubledmindsr. Don't forget the R for radio. And yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot here. What's up? Welcome back, Kramos. Final thought. Let's wrap this up.
Thank you. You hear me good?
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. My final thought is actually a request or a question, because I have a mission that I want to accomplish, and it's simple. When somebody asks me something, if somebody brings a question, I want to make that person to feel good by answering, I don't know, I don't want to know, I don't need to know, but it feels good. So if someone there can help me to accomplish this mission, most appreciated in advance. So that's my final thought. Light will prevail, and the only thing I know, because I feel it, is that light will prevail and darkness will never touch my existence. And I don't know that. I feel it. So thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Intuition leads the way, doesn't it? Give Kramos a follow as well. troubledminds.org/friends. That's the whole point of this. Meeting people, thinking about ideas, expanding the paradigm of conscious thought, and wondering what it means to be human in a larger context. Hey, here we are. You guys are the best. Thanks again for dealing with my crap, because I know I'm difficult sometimes, but also for all of my foibles and fallacies. Sometimes I do some good stuff too. So don't forget that that's an essence of all of us. And don't demean yourself, and don't elevate yourself to godhood, in my opinion. And that's my final thought and the truth I have for tonight. You guys are the best. Happy Friday. Happy Valentine's Day. If you have somebody, go love them. If you don't, dream of love. And if I don't know. Nothing more poignant than what I just said, because I'm only human and I'm only me. You guys are the best. Michael Strange out. You guys have a fantastic night. We'll see you on. So there's again, if you're still here and listening to me late into the night, thank you for that. I have a thing coming up with Jay of Project Unity tomorrow. I'm not sure if it will be a live stream. So if you want to check that out, join the Discord, troubledminds.org, click the Discord link, or follow me on Twitter X and I'll announce it. It's undetermined. So we're not sure. I'm not sure if it's going to be we talk, he edits it down to a thing, but it's basically a retro causality and trigger warning, the Trump time travel story. However, there are developments that I've recognized as a synchromystic, as taught by the official synchromystic at Troubled Minds, Derek the Night Stalker. There's something to this, that there are layers we've missed. And so we're going to talk about that tomorrow. So I don't know if it's going to be a live stream. If it is, it'll be 12 Pacific time, noon Pacific time tomorrow. And I will post those links on Twitter X and also in the Discord. Trust me, this is a wild one. And it does make you wonder about that substrate of reality, about retrocausality itself, about the future influencing the past. And so there you go. So if you're a politico type that gets triggered, check out of this one. But I think I have something novel that nobody's talked about just yet, and we'll do that tomorrow at noon. I'll drop the links here and there, and you guys are the best. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being part of this, and please don't forget to follow our friends. I say it over and over and over again. Look, you spent 3 hours with us tonight, all of these amazing people. So spend another 5 or 10 minutes after this, and please go follow these individual folks that are helping create these amazing conversations, okay? It's not just me, it's us. I'm me, you're you, together we're us. And that's that. You guys are the best. Happy Valentine's Day. Hearts all the way around, and we'll see you tomorrow, or if not, if it doesn't culminate in a live stream, we'll see you on Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific. You guys are the best. Appreciate you very much. Beep, beep, boop, boop. Michael Strange out, clicking all the things, ending all the things.